The O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, Bill O'Reilly here. If you are stuck in a timeshare you no longer want, my friends at Lone Star Transfer can assist. Over the past 15 years, the family-owned company has helped more than 30,000 owners break free from their timeshares. They'll provide a guaranteed solution to exit your timeshare. So please call Lone Star Transfer 833-594-0079 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Monday, evil Vlad Putin. Well, now we know, not very interested or interested at all in ceasefire in Ukraine. He is content with having hundreds of thousands of his countrymen killed and maimed on that battlefield. For what? For nothing. Putin is a tyrant. He's treacherous. He's evil. So the United States gave him a chance. Trump was very flattering toward Putin, as you all know. We had it set up last week in Turkey that Putin would meet with Zelensky, and old Vlad did not show up because he doesn't care. And that's what people have a hard time understanding. So the tyrants throughout history, and I know this because my upcoming book, Confronting Evil, is about these heinous men. They're not concerned with human life. It means nothing to them. Most of them are killers themselves. And if people have to die by the hundreds of thousands, so be it. In fact, people like Stalin, Hitler, and Mao went out of their way to kill millions of people. And then they had dinner. Putin's in that category. Putin is on the cover of my upcoming book, Confronting Evil. Because this man, I don't think there's anything good about him. So we're going to have to up the pain for old Vlad if we want to get anywhere in Ukraine. Back in a moment. Homeowners criminals are targeting your equity, so you need to check your home's title right now. Just use promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 title monitoring, urgent alerts, and if fraud should happen, they will spend up to $1 million to fix it. So please go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code BILL today. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert Meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Showers and thunderstorms likely overnight, particularly around sunrise in the St. Louis area as we drop to 63. Mostly cloudy on Monday with a high of 79 and more showers and thunderstorms likely during the late afternoon and evening. Some of those could be strong to severe. We'll drop to 66 Monday night. Looking ahead to Tuesday, more showers and storms, especially from the late morning into the afternoon as a cold front moves through. Tuesday's high 81 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
What's happening today? Here's your first dose of the news you need to know. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
The president has given Congress a deadline. That is early July. Be sure to get that so-called one big beautiful bill to him by then. Now, whether they do it or not remains to be seen, but we do know that the Democrats, that the hard left is trying to throw every roadblock they can. They don't want those Trump tax cuts remaining in place. They want your taxes to go up. And what that would mean, every paycheck you get, whether you get paid every other Friday, whether you get paid twice a month, that means your paychecks will become smaller, literally right on the spot. So what's the update on that? We're going to talk to Congressman Bob Onder about that and a bunch of other stuff happening in D.C. that's affecting us all. That's going to be at 7:35. Hey, good morning. Mike Ferguson here. Hope you had a great weekend. We spoke with our buddy Tim Jones former Speaker of the House of Missouri. And now he's moved on to bigger and better things, like hosting the afternoon show with Chris Arps here on News Talk STL. But the legislative session is over, and we started with the basic question. How should conservatives feel about what happened? And Tim was really upbeat about what our lawmakers did. And let me tell you something. I've known Tim a really long time. That's unusual for him to be giving a Tim Jones seal of approval. Here's how the conversation went on Friday. Before we get into the wins and then we didn't quite get there part of this, what's it like in those last 24, 48, 36 hours? Because, you know, the House has gone home. I think the Senate's gone home too, right? Or are they going to do anything procedural today?
Oh, no, fellas. The Missouri General Assembly regular session,
they're done.
It's over.
Yeah, they're done.
Your freedoms, liberties, and pocketbooks are safe once again.
But tell me about those last 24 hours, that last maybe 36 or 48 hours. I mean, are you basically living on Red Bull and caffeine at that point? And at some point, are you too exhausted to make good decisions? I'm talking about like the personal part of this.
Well, I did hear my good friend, Representative Paul Kurtman, who I was his speaker. And so Paul and I go way back. We've got a very close relationship. There's a bond that develops in those relationships and those friendships over the years. And that's the one great thing about the legislature. There's a lot of complaints I have, but one of the great things is you do meet some really amazing people along the journey, and you develop a lot of friendships for life. And in the last, so I heard Paul talking about that, and that's a similar experience I had. And in those final 48, 72 hours, there is a massive adrenaline rush. You are getting, usually you're not getting too much sleep because there's a lot of work to be done. There's a flurry of activity. And then there's a surreal experience of having all of it just come to a resounding, sometimes shocking end, and it's over. And you walk outside kind of like in a daze, and like this, usually it's late May, right? And, you've entered that building in early January, and you walk out in late May, and it feels sometimes like it was one long day that lasted about 4.5 months. And you walk outside and you realize there's a big, beautiful world out there. The sun is shining, the skies are blue, the fountains in front of the Capitol are flowing. People, you see normal people walking up and down the street with their families and their kids, and you're like, oh, there's a big, beautiful world out here. Praise God, And so it is, that adrenaline has dropped out of your body, and then you have to decide, do I feel good about all this that just happened or not so much? So it is an amazing experience. I feel, and I know Paul feels the same, honored and blessed, privileged and humbled to have served the people of the state of Missouri at the highest levels. And fellas, if you want to count all the years that I've been in and around that Capitol building, either on the public or private sector side, I just completed my 18th legislative session. I'm not sure where the time has gone.
Yeah, really. My dad always said, well, in the past. That's where it goes. Gabe here. Okay, so you mentioned how lawmakers will kind of come out of the days and say, okay, do I feel good about what went on in that building? And that's kind of my question. Should I feel good about what went on in that building? I came into this session with pretty high expectations. What the Republican supermajority should mean conservative wins, right? I want my big red things. That included I wanted tax cuts, I wanted budget cuts, I wanted school choice, I wanted pro-life legislation to kind of to get a chance again in the state, and I wanted protection to the Second Amendment. How many of those things did I actually get at the end of the day?
Yeah, Gabe, this year you should feel really good. You should feel really good for the first time in about 7 years. And I'm going to say it. This is what happens when you remove some of the most insidious roadblocks to conservative priorities from the legislature. And this time it happened because of term limits. And there is no Caleb Rowden in the building anymore.
Hey.
I'm sorry. I wish I could give him all the fault and blame. He has a lot of accomplices. A couple of them are still in that building. Mm-hmm. But he was the Senate president for the last 2 years. He was the Senate majority leader for the 4 years before that. Fellas, at that level, with that much power that senators have, and then you couple it with a leadership position, and you literally have the ability to kill thousands of pieces of legislation and not even look like you're doing it. And let me tell you, a lot of the conservative priorities went down over the last 7 years. Gabe, this year, many of them passed. If I was going to give a grade, an overall grade, I, for the first time in a long time, give the legislature a really strong, solid B+.
Nice. Okay.
Perfect. There were a few things that did not get across the finish line, but the productivity and the ability to work to not just get stuff done, right? I hate that phrase. We got to get stuff done. No, you got to get the right stuff done. You got to get the stuff, Gabe, that you said that everyone campaigns on. Everybody's a campaign conservative in Missouri because the electorate are generally conservative. You get outside your little urban leftist bubble of St. Louis and Kansas City, and most of the rest of Missouri is Alabama, and we are a supermajority red state. It's not just, and there's no gerrymandering involved here, right? People always want to complain about House districts. Well, how about the fact there's a supermajority amongst the Senate districts? There's only 34 of those. How about the fact that we have every state? How about statewide? We have all the statewide offices. They're all Republicans, 6 of the 8 congressional office and both U.S. Senate seats. So Missouri's a red state. It should be delivering red results. This year, Gabe, we did. And whether you look at, here's a little fun fact for everybody. I got 2 fun facts, actually. Number one, guys, the legislature adjourned Wednesday night after the Senate leadership, along with Senator Adam Schnelping and Senator Mike Bernstetter, moved the previous question, ended the Democrat filibuster on 2 of the top priorities of the session, protecting human life, giving the voters an honest ballot question versus the deception, the $35 million deception campaign of Amendment 3 last year. We're going to go back to the ballot box on that. If there's going to be an honest, transparent, easy to understand, appropriate proposition given to the people on abortion versus life. And number 2, they have removed the gutting draconian regulations of Proposition A. So those 2 things were done in the Senate Wednesday night. The Senate was done. They adjourned. Yesterday, the House adjourned on Thursday. And since 1952, when the provisions, the laws, the regulations were put into place, that the legislature could go until the 3rd Friday of May, 6 p.m. So since 1952, the House has never adjourned prior to Friday at 6 p.m. So a little bit of history made there. And you know what? I'm okay when the legislature's out of session, and everybody else should be too. So,
yeah.
Hey, Tim, let me follow up regarding the election stuff, because there was also a bill that passed that had to do with funding from was it just out of state or out of the country regarding referendums and campaigns in Missouri that bill got passed.
Yep, that was the prohibition on foreign funding. Fellas, add that to the list of, I could probably give you easily a top 10 of conservative Republican priorities made across the finish line. I think that was the last bill to pass yesterday. And our own Senator Nick Schroer had the first bill that passed the legislature, and he almost had the last bill to pass the legislature, his bill on judicial deference, putting the anti-Chevron doctrine that the Supreme Court handed down last year, putting that into our state laws as well. So, you had the pro-life bill, you had the Prop A fix, you had the ending of foreign money in our ballot initiatives. I mean, my goodness, why did we have to pass a law for that? But we did. Judicial deference, the Constitutional Money Act, which has been hung up in the pipeline forever, that got through. Ben Keithley had a great bill to restore property rights for landlords. Remember during COVID, all the demands that were made of landlords, and they basically had to let people just stay on their properties for free, and things like that. So it was a long laundry list of conservative priorities that had been hung up, some of these for years in the legislative pipeline. The income tax deduction for capital gains. I mean, so we could go on and on and on. How about this? I think this is the first time in years I've been able to give you guys a list of accomplishments, right? ESA funding, Mike, for the first time ever, Missouri has decided that one of its top budget priorities is to make sure kids have a choice when it comes to their schooling. $50 million. Governor Kehoe wanted that in the budget. The House firmly agreed. The Senate gutted it down to 0. Thank you, Lincoln Huff. Right. And then Dirk Deaton, the House budget chair, stood firm and made sure that got through. So that has gotten through as well.
Yeah. Now, Dirk Deaton, that's not his real name. I mean, come on, that's an action figure name. Let's be honest.
He's also known as a Western outlaw.
There it is. Yeah.
Nice.
Southwest Missouri.
Yeah.
It fits right in.
Exactly. All right, Tim, we just got a minute or so left here. Now, there were a couple things that didn't make it across the finish line. Like I'm going to reach out to Aaron Dorr, the SEPA fix. Was that just a matter of it ran out of time? Things got delayed with the filibuster and then with all the stadium stuff, because we're also looking at most likely a special session to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals probably within the next week or two is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, you're correct. Different dynamics, different frustrations lead to different results as to why certain bills get done and certain bills don't. Aaron Dorr will be able to fill you in on exactly why the Second Amendment Preservation Act fix did not make it across the finish line. So that was one of those that was a little bit of a head scratcher. While they were ending the Democrat filibuster in the Senate on the two items I mentioned, I don't know why they just didn't go for more. Because at that point, everybody's just, pardon my French, pissed off, ready to go home. So you might as well just clear out the decks, right? But they did not get that across the finish line. Yes, Mike, you're correct. The governor is considering a special session. The conservatives will not be any more favorable towards that than they were a couple days ago. However, what usually happens in special sessions is the governor has something he wants to get done that the conservatives generally don't like. And then the conservatives say, well, Governor, if you're going to do that, then we want this. And so, legislating is the art of the deal. And we see that on the federal level every single day. It's the same thing on the state level. And so perhaps there will be a major conservative priority, something, again, that has been around for years that has never gotten done. And perhaps that is what the conservatives will say has to be part of any special session call. Special sessions are weird creatures, and we'll have to keep an eye on it. But my understanding is that if they're going to do it, they're going to have to call one before June 25th. So these legislators are not yet quite going to be able to go on a full summer vacation at this time.
All right, Tim Jones, I really appreciate the insight, especially that human touch of it, because we do forget sometimes that these are actual people.
Yeah.
they were there. They're not just characters on social media. These are actual people, and they get tired too.
Yeah, Mike, so. we have a citizen legislature, and even though we can sit here and criticize them, which we often do, and sometimes they deserve it, let's remember our legislature is a citizen legislature. It is a full-time job with extremely part-time pay. They have extremely limited staffs. Most of the people who are going up there are doing it with a servant's heart. And I want to thank all of my colleagues who have continued to make the Missouri General Assembly a very interesting place to work in, to cover, and to participate in as well.
All right, let's get going. Lots to talk about today. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Springtime often means storms. Don't let a fallen tree ruin your day. Call Hanson's Tree. Look them up at hansonstree.com. Hanson's, your expert insured tree care specialist in the St. Louis region and well beyond. In addition to taking care of all the messes, they can take care of beautiful things as well. Organic mulch, tree trimming, grinding, and land clearing, green waste recycling. Let the expert arborists at Hanson's take care of all the tree care for your home or business. 24/7 at hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Mike Ferguson. Gabe Phifer. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
All right. The big question now is, where do we go from here? The cleanup continues. And here's the thing is, we're not in the recovery part after this tornado. We're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
We're still in the cleanup part of this. And we also have another set of storms that could be moving through today. Now, it doesn't look like it's as much of a risk as obviously what we had on Friday, but it is still something that could cause a lot more problems because of all of the damage that's happened. But throughout the day, we're going to be trying to connect you or the people you know who need resources, or if you want to be a resource, we're going to be giving you a lot of options throughout the day.
And so we have a list of shelters, one of which is Grace United Methodist Church, 6199 Waterman Boulevard, St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah. So if you are, because right now there's a lot of people, your house may be intact, but you have no power.
Mm-hmm.
And lines are being cut for a lot of things, or there's a lot of people whose homes are just simply not livable. And so there's a good chance that you might know somebody, whether you're in the county or whether you're in North City or even in Scott County on the Illinois side, because they got hit as well, that you may need to do one of those. So throughout the morning, if you need those resources, you can contact them. We'll tell you where they are. But then also there's a lot of people saying, how do I help?
Yes.
Right. And so, which is the right answer, because there's a wrong way to help, which we'll get into in just a minute.
Well, and I just want to say thank you to Love the Lou.
Yeah.
We had Rachel on Saturday, and she gave the location and how people can help. And I'm sure that even outside of St. Louis area, there are people out there that are working with their neighbors to tirelessly try to help each other out. So thank you to everybody that's trying to alleviate the stress of the situation.
Right. And when he says Rachel, he means my wife, who is the president of the board of Love the Lou.
Oh,
yeah. So, and that's where she's been, basically all weekend, because they are on the ground. And so I've got to report directly from there, so we have a little more information than what we would have. So throughout the morning, we're going to do this. Yes, we have other big news stories. We're going to talk to Congressman Bob Onder. We're going to talk to Bill Eigel. We've got a lot of ground to cover today, but the reality is that this is the time that we have to know how to come together, because there are things where you have to know what not to do. I had some mixed feelings early on when you saw that police were putting in curfews in the city, and, you're not allowed to drive around, and, that sort of thing. And, streets being shut off, and you better explain to the police officer why you've got business on that street. And obviously the libertarian in me has a bad reaction to that. But within an hour of the tornado leaving, looting started in parts of St. Louis. That's why that happens. I don't like it. I don't know that I believe that, police should be able to come in and put a curfew on full grown adults. But the reality was looting happened right away.
Yeah. And in times like this, where people are just trying to keep safe and trying to find their loved ones, there are people out there that will take advantage of that.
Exactly.
And the other part of the issue is during the actual tornado, people were trying to find somewhere to pull over, and inadvertently were putting themselves and others in more danger as well. So, I mean, it's just all around just a hard situation.
So we're going to go around the room here. My street was one of those that was hit by the tornado. But I've got an update for you on that. And then obviously from North City directly. One of the things I want to point out, do not. And I know that people won't think of it this way. Don't go do disaster tourism.
Good point.
Please don't. Forest Park got hit bad. Apparently like right around Skinker, I guess a lot of those trees, if not most of those trees, have been uprooted completely. The zoo was shut down because now all the animals are accounted for, but the zoo suffered a lot of damage. Clayton School District is shut today. Your social media feed is not going to help people.
Yeah.
Okay, please don't do that. You've seen the pictures, you've seen the videos, you've seen them on social media, you've seen them on the website, you've seen them on the news. That's enough. We don't need any more. Please don't. If you want to go help, contact one of the agencies, the resources, like you just mentioned, Love the Lou. You can look at lovethelou. I think it's com or org. You can look them up and you can find them. They've got a place right there. You can put your information in and they will direct you to how you can help directly. But please don't just show up and say, well, I'm going to do something. I mean, they'll find something for you to do, but it's going to take a lot of resources to do it if you don't go through a very simple, hey, raise my hand, put me to work. Great. Show up here. Here's what we got for you to do.
Yeah. For the cloud chasers that do that kind of thing where they just show places, be an asset, not a liability.
Right. Because a lot of people have great hearts and you're really sincere, which is why it's hard to hear something like that. I have covered many, many disasters. This is often what they call the second disaster, is that people will show up from all over and like, put me to work. Oh, by the way, I need food. I need a place to stay. And then it becomes you have to take care of the people who are trying to take care of you. So go through those channels. And that's why all morning long, we're going to be listing both resources for those who have been affected and also resources you can get involved with and help right now. You can do that. So we're going to help you do that. All right. 314-912-1019. I haven't even got on to Rumble yet. I need to check there. If you please check in, everybody, on the News Talk STL family. Are you guys okay? Okay. Or is there anybody who's in need of something? Because we got the News Talk family here and we want to take care of each other as well.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Military history buffs and collectors, attention. Looking for authentic military collectibles? Look no further than Alamo Military Collectibles, your one-stop shop for genuine military artifacts, firearms to uniforms, medals to memorabilia, pistols, rifles, bayonets, insignia, patches, helmets, field gear, and more, both American and foreign pieces. We offer cash or consignment for your items. Alamo Military Collectibles. Visit us online at alamomilitary.com or call 314-638-6505 today.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Chris Ruddy, he is the CEO of Newsmax.
Look, the president's a savvy player. I don't know if he's a chess player or checkers player. I just spoke to him the other week. He likes Newsmax. He strongly criticized Fox News. He says their polls can't be trusted. And he tells people to go watch Newsmax. I think that's a pretty good endorsement, and maybe why we've done so well in the public stock markets as well.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from Channel 4, and we are proud to be the official weather source for News Talk STL. Just like you've grown to expect from us at Channel 4, you can expect the same accurate, detailed, and timely weather coverage from News Talk STL. The First Alert weather team will keep you ahead of the big weather changes. And the one thing you can count on in St. Louis, the weather is constantly changing. So Channel 4 and News Talk STL are committed to keeping you up to date and safe.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump and the First Lady say they are saddened to hear of former President Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis. Mr. Trump writes on Truth Social, "We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery." It was a rare Sunday night vote that saw a key component of President Trump's agenda advance in the House. The House Budget Committee advanced the president's so-called Big Beautiful Bill, providing tax relief, enhanced border security, along with spending cuts and fiscal reforms.
Deficit hawks who had blocked the measure 2 days earlier voted present as negotiations continue to speed up some spending cuts. The measure passed by a vote of 17-16. Speaker Mike Johnson was determined to make Friday's setback a short one. He met with Republican lawmakers shortly before the vote, telling reporters that changes agreed to during weekend negotiations were just some minor modifications. The Republicans who have criticized the measure note the bill's new spending and tax cuts are front-loaded, while the measures to offset the cost are back-loaded. Tasha Stevens reporting.
A potential Ukraine ceasefire will be the subject as President Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin speak by phone later today. Commuters rejoice. New Jersey transit trains resume operations first thing tomorrow as engineers end their 3-day strike.
The walkout has affected service for some 100,000 daily riders. Both the transit system and the union confirm a deal was reached on Sunday. Both sides also say trains would resume their regular schedules just after midnight this Tuesday. A wage increase for engineers became the main sticking point in the strike.
Correspondent Andrew Stewart. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are down 284 points. NASDAQ futures 304 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2025 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. Offer valid through 7/20/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert Meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Showers and thunderstorms likely overnight, particularly around sunrise in the St. Louis area as we drop to 63. Mostly cloudy on Monday with a high of 79 and more showers and thunderstorms likely during the late afternoon and evening. Some of those could be strong to severe. We'll drop to 66 Monday night. Looking ahead to Tuesday, more showers and storms, especially from the late morning into the afternoon as a cold front moves through. Tuesday's high 81 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stiefel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you are ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stiefel. Request a portfolio review from your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Phifer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
Let's knock it off.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin Bob.
Driving in this morning, I drove by those hotels up here by the radio station up there, and parking lots are full of vehicles with the lifts from electric companies and tree companies from around the Midwest. So the cavalry has come to St. Louis. And so they're going to be staging probably right now. So the question is, where does St. Louis go from here after that deadly tornado hits? Also, all of this, I'm going to use air quotes here, news that we're supposed to be surprised by about Joe Biden's health. It says more about the corrupt system around him than it does about him personally.
Absolutely.
I'm starting to look at the Joe Biden, as don't get me wrong, I can't stand his presidency, but I'm starting to look at him with more sympathy.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely a victim of this.
Yeah, than derision. We'll get into that. And the Battlehawks punched their ticket to the postseason. And guess what? You can be there the whole way with them. I will tell you how and why. It is 6:06. Let's get going with the news dump.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, the EF3 tornado that hit St. Louis County and also hit the city killed 5 people and hurt 38 others that we know of so far. Throughout the morning, we're going to be letting you know both where you can go to get help if you need it, but also where to go if you want to help those who are in need. Because, Gabe, the thing is, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and we want to put that information out there so people who really want to help, and I know that there are just thousands of people around St. Louis. It's like, I feel like I want to do something. Do it the right way.
Absolutely. Don't just kind of jump in thinking that you're going to be able to help. There are people whose job it is to plan these things, to understand these things, and they've provided us some information that we're going to relay to you on the best ways to help, things not to do as well. Look, this is a surprising situation for a lot of us. A lot of us are not prepared for this. We hear about it in the news, but when it really hits home, it's a different story. But so we have some advice for you. We got some resources we're going to share with you throughout the morning.
Both to go access resources if you need it, but also to contribute to as well. St. Louis Mayor Kyra Spencer commenting on the extent of the damage here.
We estimate right now over $1 billion of damage, property damage, that does not even begin to account for the personal human toll that this has taken in our community.
And since she spoke to the media about that, they're now saying that we're estimating $1.6 billion. And that was just hours after she made those comments there. More severe weather could come through the area today. And even though the storms themselves if we get storms, and we're not sure we're going to get big storms, but if we do, it's not expected to be what we had on Friday, but we'll get into in a little bit here around 6:20 why that still could even be worse. We'll get to that. Also, Spencer says they're working with state and federal officials to try to expedite aid into the area. We're going to talk to Congressman Bob Onder at 7:35. All right, 2 Fairview Heights, Illinois police officers are recovering after being shot over the weekend. It happened late Saturday night after a suspicious person call. Police believe it could have been a domestic conflict situation. The person opened fire, hitting 3 officers. 1 officer was shot in the face. He's in critical condition. Another was shot in the arm and is recovering. Another officer was hit as well, but his protective vest stopped the bullet. He was shot in the back, but it just got to the vest.
Oh my gosh.
The shooter has been arrested, but there's no description of this person available at all. We don't even know male or female or anything like that. The Illinois State Police is now handling the investigation on that as well. Okay. Former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Biden's office says he was diagnosed with prostate cancer on Friday, with the cancer cells having spread to the bone. A statement said, while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The 82-year-old Biden and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Okay, we'll get into this a little bit later on because we frankly got more important things to deal with at the moment. There's a lot of internet oncologists out there now who are suddenly experts on prostate cancer. Here's the thing, guys. If we live long enough, we're going to get prostate cancer.
Yeah, it's pretty much inevitable.
It's basically inevitable. At the same time, this highly aggressive form that's down to the the bone without trying to be the internet oncologist, Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
They did not just learn that he had this diagnosis on Friday.
It's not possible.
No.
It's not possible for people to be this far into it.
Yeah.
Metastasization is late stage.
Right.
Right. There are indicators prior to this that are obvious if you go and have basic physicals. Like, I don't know, the president might have.
Right, exactly. So they knew about this. They knew about his health. That's more clear now than it ever was. Not just the cognitive decline, but the physical health as well. So we'll get into this a little bit more, which is why I'm looking at this story, Gabe, and this is the angle I'm going to take. I'll just tell everybody right now. You can disagree with me if you want. This isn't as much about Joe Biden as it is about the corrupt system surrounding him in the presidency.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking at people like Jill Biden and the DNC in its entirety, just manipulating this man. I mean, to some extent, look, Joe Biden has
he made his decisions.
He's participated in this whole thing his entire life, but at this point in his life, when he probably should have been shuffled off to retirement, as well as cancer treatments on his own, just as a private citizen, they kept him in this. They manipulated him as a figurehead for, I think, a system that was running around him.
Exactly. Not to mention the media.
You
did say the DNC already.
Yes.
You already.
Let's not be redundant here.
All right. FBI Director Kash Patel says he's prioritizing combating human trafficking, particularly child sex trafficking. He was on Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo to discuss that.
You have to get out there in the field, not just let the FBI agents and intel folks get out there and do the work, but partner with state and local law enforcement, which is a priority, and tribal law enforcement. That's a big, big deal for us. We are not forgetting about Indian country. They suffer from the same violent crime.
Now, this comes as the FBI just last week arrested hundreds of suspected online predators, and those predators are accused of targeting children, and this was during a 5-day operation that they executed that. Okay, as expected, Missouri state lawmakers are heading back to work next month. Governor Kehoe has called a special session to consider a plan to at least partially fund a new stadium for the Kansas City Royals and fund a majority of the cost of upgrading Arrowhead Stadium for the Kansas City Chiefs. Another $500 million in construction spending in other parts of the state is also going to be considered. I have thoughts on that. The state of Kansas is offering to pay 70% of the cost of building new stadiums for the teams in hopes of wooing them across the state line. That $500 million for other parts of the state. Let me tell you what this is. This is, we know that you St. Louis lawmakers could not care less about what happens in Jackson County with the Chiefs. So what say we throw about $100 million worth of projects from the taxpayers for you two? What do you want?
Right.
This is nothing but horse trading and bribing to get corporate welfare for the Chiefs and for the Royals.
Bribing is the right word.
Yes. No other way to put it.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that in a little bit as well. All right. Battlehawks are in the postseason. And they're going to have home field advantage the entire way.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. The UFL's conference championship game is going to happen at the Dome on June 8th. That was actually supposed to happen in Washington, D.C., and the DC Defenders are the team the Battlehawks are going to play. They were supposed to have home field advantage, but it turns out that their stadium where they play has a prior event planned for that day.
Oh, really?
So the UFL made the decision to put the game at the Dome instead. So the Defenders, instead of having home field advantage, will now have to face the Battlehawks at the Dome.
Wow, in the Battle Dome.
In the Dome. So with Saturday's win over Birmingham, 1 point. 1 point win.
Wild game.
I'll be really honest. I didn't think the Battlehawks were going to beat the Stallions.
Yeah. I knew it was going to be close.
Yeah, I did too.
But I didn't think they were going to pull it out. But they did. They made it to hold them off.
Last minute, man. Jacob Sailors. Battlehawks secured their spot in the game against DC. Like I said, the UFL has already picked the Dome to host the league championship game on June 14th. So the Battlehawks get home field advantage the entire postseason.
Yep, through the rest of the entire thing.
Absolutely. All right, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Cardinals lost their series finale to the Royals on Sunday, but they won the series against Kansas City. Final score yesterday, 2-1. Back at Busch Stadium tonight to start a series with the Tigers. First pitch at 6:45. Sonny Gray on the mound.
All at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop right now. I I've had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away.
Tired of floors that don't stand up to real life? Hometown Floors has the solution. With 40 years of experience, they know floors. 100% made in the USA. Luxury vinyl, laminate carpet, pet friendly, and built to last. Free and home estimates, professional installation, and satisfaction guaranteed. Hometown Floors, making small business great again. Check us out at hometownfloorsonline.com.
This Memorial Day weekend, bring your crew to Busch Stadium to see the Cardinals take on the D-backs. May 23rd to the 25th, catch great promotions all weekend long, including a Mason Win bobblehead and a Kid City Connect jersey giveaway. Kick off your summer with ballpark hot dogs, ice-cold beers, and entertainment for the whole family. Tickets are available at Cardinals.com. This is how summer is meant to be. See you at the ballpark.
This is Alec Burleson, St. Louis Cardinals, for the Lou.
Catch a Cardinals game on your next date night or friends night out. Whether it's love in the stands or laughter with your crew, nothing beats ballpark vibes under the lights. Cold drinks, great eats, and Cardinals baseball. Check out Friday Night Live at Busch Stadium and enjoy happy hour price food and drinks all game long. Every Friday home game. Get your tickets today at Cardinals.com and make memories that go beyond the scoreboard. Busch Stadium, where great nights begin.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
All right, direct hit. Those are the two words I think that describe this the best. That's what happened on Friday. So throughout the morning, we're going to be trying to provide resources. I'm going to put this, say this way, both directions. So if you or you know somebody who is dealing with one of these direct hits and damage and you can't be in your home or you're out something, we're going to have those for you, but also ways for you to become a resource and help somebody else.
Absolutely. And one of those ways is helping with cleanup. Now, of course, safety should be your priority when we're dealing with all this stuff. So one of the first things I want to talk about is the fact that do not approach down power lines. Yes. You know, just it's like, hey, this power line's in the way of a sidewalk or it's in the street or something like that. I need to. You're thinking you want.
I've got rubber gloves.
I've got rubber gloves. No, it doesn't work the same.
No.
Do not approach those. Instead, call Ameren at 800-552-7583 to report that it's down. They will get out there and help you. Also, the Federal Emergency Management Agency has resources on best practices for cleanup after disaster. That includes, how to clean and disinfect things, how to be aware of hazardous and dangerous materials, and know what materials to separate. FEMA has, all sorts of resources for dealing with that. U-Haul is offering those affected by storms 30 days of free self-storage as well. So that's I think a big deal for a lot of people whose stuff is basically strewn out on the street right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a U-Box container to help with the cleanup. Participating stores can be found at the following locations. You got the one on Manchester, 14767 Manchester, one on Page, 9820 Page, 418 South Tucker, 7270 Olive, and 415 North Illinois Avenue in Carbondale.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's those are the things a lot of people don't realize until you need it. You never think of it that way. By the way, I originally saw the report that storm, which was 1 mile wide at one point, that tornado.
That's crazy.
That it was on the ground for 8 miles.
Yeah, that usually doesn't happen.
There's an update.
Oh, really?
It was on the ground for 23 miles.
23 miles.
23 miles.
Of destruction.
That's the new report.
Oh, my
23
gosh.
miles. Over 150 mile an hour winds on this. Okay, but this is about the people here as well. By the way, more storms could be here today. Now, the storms themselves are expected to be less intense than what we had on Friday. However, if you don't have a roof right now, if your windows are out right now, even a smaller storm can do more damage because now you got to worry about the water damage and the things that were already shaky.
Right. If your house isn't secure, and it's the worst time for this thing to come through.
Yeah. All right. So, guys, what did you see? What did you experience over the course of the storm and afterwards?
Now in North County, I was working from home at the time. We didn't get much except for some heavy rain, little wind, and the wind. Comparing to the 100-mile-per-hour winds that were going, the wind we were getting was pretty much nothing, and occasional small bits of hail. I'd say pea size at the biggest. I've got a couple of dents I can see in the right light on my car, and that was pretty much it. From what I can tell, there are other areas that got hit real hard.
Yeah, I was at work at the time at my other job, and the skies got really, really dark, and so we were like, okay, brace down. We were telling all of our delivery drivers, like, if you want to, for some reason, go out there, we're not going to definitely make you. We would encourage you not to, but wasn't as bad where we were at. We were more in the Creve Coeur area, so it got really dark. We got maybe some dime-sized hail for about 10 minutes. I went in the back, and then I came back out a few moments later. It was completely sunny, so we were actually not thinking it was going to be anywhere near this bad. We were like, oh, well, that's just another example of the weather people over-exaggerating. And then the next day we all came to work after we saw what the damage was, and we were like, we got really lucky with this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. In this area, my street was one of those that was hit by the tornado. So
in Maryland Heights or
Richmond
Heights.
Yeah. Here at the radio station, Maryland Heights, we got to see dime size hail is about what I saw. Here. But yeah, the street where my house is, that was one of the streets that was hit. So there's a massive tree that was uprooted, and I don't know about this morning, but it was blocking the street. I think it's still there.
And that's old growth trees out there, right?
Very old,
like
growth
the gigantic,
trees.
massive, monstrous trees been there for like 100 years.
Right. I mean, our houses will be 100 years old next year.
Right.
So those trees are at least that old, and this one was a very, very large one. Our house, for the most part, pretty unscathed. We're very, very fortunate on that stuff that just had to be picked back up and that sort of thing. The house across the street from us has a covered porch, and a branch pierced through that roof of the porch and went into the siding of the house itself.
Oh, wow.
And so, the power is still out on this street there. We don't have power. And it's been that way since Friday. And basically, Ameren is indicating we're not going to have power anytime soon.
Yeah, my first Missouri experience was actually I accidentally drove home through the Joplin, Missouri tornado.
Oh,
when I was in driver's, after that, when we realized how bad that was, I'm like, I don't think I'm really afraid of storms anymore. And luckily, this is not that level, but it's just still extremely stressful when you have to deal with natural disaster, especially if you don't know if your pets are okay, if if you're going to be reimbursed. So behavioral response is available 24 hours a day. So call at 988 or 314-819-8811 or text 31658 for help.
Okay, can you put that up on the live stream here as well? Let's
Absolutely.
put some of those resources up there. Okay, see that brings up an interesting point with Joplin, because after Joplin happened, for instance, my kids were still in school at the time, and they loaded up on buses and they went and helped in Joplin.
Right.
So the thing is that a storm like this sometimes takes 20 years to recover from.
Yes.
That's what it took Joplin.
Yes.
And if you drive around Joplin now, you can clearly see which neighborhoods were the ones wiped out because they're the new ones. Now, here's the thing. Clayton and Richmond Heights took direct hits.
Right.
My street, Clayton, Forest Park, we'll be fine. We have resources.
Sure.
We're fine.
Everybody's got insurance on those.
We've got insurance. We've got money. We're fine. North City.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And if you didn't catch my wife, Rachel's conversation with Randy Tobler over the weekend, I would encourage you to go back and do that. Rachel happens to be the president of the board of Love the Lou, which works with particularly the Enright neighborhood in North City to stabilize and revitalize and that sort of thing. And so that's where she's been since the storm moved on. I mean, literally, our house was in the neighborhood that got hit. And she got in a car and went to check on the people in North City. And so here's what's going on is they've had 2 full days of cleanup. They're going to have another one. And if you want to learn more about that, go to like lovethelou. I forget if it's .com or .org, I don't remember. But it's right there, and they've got a thing to say, if you can help, here's how to do it. But they've already done the cleanup, because right now what we've got is cleanup.
Right.
They had a roof that was ripped off of their building, but they're going, they're going door to door, making sure everybody's okay. FEMA says we'll be there in about 2 weeks to help clean everything up and put them up in piles. Well, with FEMA's recent history, you can't really guarantee on that.
Right.
So, they're stacking up the bricks. They're hauling off the shingles that were there. So they've gotten a lot done. And they have had volunteers that have been showing up, churches and things like that have been sending groups up there. But it's the power being out and the homes being damaged can be really devastating, especially for the older people there. It may only be 75, 80 degrees, but it gets hot in those old brick homes.
It sure does. Yeah. By the way, it's lovethelou.com.
It is
and on their website, right on the front page, at the top of the front page, they've got a tornado relief,
right?
Kind of section there, so you can click there for information about how you can help. They also have a relief donation needs list, so you can know exactly what is required to, the things that they are trying to distribute there, and how you can donate to those and where you can bring those donations.
And here's the thing: is if there's a big enough response and they meet all of those, anything that comes in excess is going to simply be moved to the next neighborhood over to help the people. So if you donate something, it's going to go to the people in North City who need the help right now. And let's be really, really candid. I mean, I know we're stereotyping. Many of them don't have the resources to take care of what they need right now.
Yeah, North City is absolutely in need. Among the things that they're looking for here is bottled water, batteries and flashlights, and the like, diapers and wipes, and infant formula, things like that. So go. I encourage you to go to lovethelou.com and check out what they need there and how you can give.
And also, this is not the time for the politics, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Did North City, politics and leadership and bad decision? Oh, sure.
Whatever.
Okay. This is a freaking tornado.
Yeah.
And this was an EF3 tornado with 150 mile an hour winds. They didn't ask for that. Nobody did. Think of it this way. We can help. We can wait for government to do it and say, do something, or you can do something right now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Put your money where your mouth is. If you think private entities ought to be doing these things and not government, well, you're the private entity.
If you're in a church, if you're in a nonprofit group, anything like that, this might be the time to go, hey, should we get a group of us together?
Mm-hmm.
That's what community, is supposed to be doing. So, we can put the word out and help connect you with them, which is what we're trying to do. But there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. That's a good way to do that. And there are all sorts of organizations, which through the morning, we're going to be listing those so that, because the reality is that, you chances are, somebody who's affected by this.
Right.
But again, Richmond Heights, my street gets hit. We're fine. I don't need a GoFundMe. We don't need anything. Our neighbors don't need that. We're okay.
Yeah.
We'll recover.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
You'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We're fine. Because we have resources that others don't. And we can talk about the underlying problems later, but that's not for today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So 314-912-1019. Love to get what you experienced, what you saw, your reaction to it as well, because every once in a while you just throw all the politics and the right versus left, and you throw all that stuff, just throw it out.
Yeah.
For a little bit. And that's what we're doing.
Just be a human.
Oh, believe me, it'll come back.
Oh, well, yeah.
There's
stuff, behind and below a lot of the stuff that we deal with when these kind of things happen.
Right.
But the first thing that has to go through your mind for sure is just dealing with humanity, dealing with the suffering and the hurt that's affecting your fellow man.
Yeah. And that means meeting the physical needs right away, and so that's a good resources. And you can go to what's the other one? Restore STL, I think is what it's called. And then, I know United Way is kicked in, and the Red Cross, and, there's a lot of these organizations out there. Convoy of Hope has dispatched up to the area here as well from Springfield. And so there are a lot of organizations, not to mention, probably dozens, if not hundreds of locally already established groups that are working directly with people here. But I happen to have a connection to that one, so I want to put that. And I know what they're doing. I think my daughter's going to be up there today helping as well. So 314-912-1019. Just ahead here, we do have some national news here. We're being told this. Oh my gosh, can you believe this? Here's the surprise: Joe Biden's been diagnosed with prostate cancer. We just found out on Friday.
Yeah, I'm sure they just have found out on Friday.
Found out on Friday. This isn't just about Joe Biden. Let's talk about that just ahead.
The news and talk
The tariffs are hurting China very badly.
They have to have the U.S. market
that matters to St. Louis.
Until they start abiding by fair trading rules.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A lot of dry time on tap today from the midday into the afternoon after some spotty morning rain moves out, up to 78 under partly sunny skies. But then another round of strong to severe storms rolls in this evening into the overnight. 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. looks like the time to watch. 67 for the Tuesday morning low. A lower chance of some storms Tuesday from late morning into the early afternoon. 81 for the high tomorrow. Thankfully, Wednesday through Friday look dry and beautiful. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for Patriot Heating and Cooling. When your home's comfort is on the line, you need a team you can trust. That's why I recommend Patriot Heating and Cooling, St. Louis's trusted team of HVAC experts. These pros make customer service their number one priority, whether it's a summer breakdown or a winter emergency. Booking your service couldn't be easier. Just visit callpatriothvacstl.com or call 314-527-2722. Patriot Heating and Cooling. Comfort every day, the Patriot way.
As we pause to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom this Memorial Day, let us remember their courage and dedication.
Words cannot measure the depth of their devotion, the purity of their love, or the totality of their courage.
A reminder from local businesses who support our veterans. Freddy's Market in Webster Groves, Blue Sky Apparel and Promotions, Ray Ray's Kettle Corn, and from News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, what makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
With Larry Connors USA, you always get news, opinion, analysis, plus education.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Hi, this is Susie Moore. Check out my show, Red State Radio, Sunday afternoon at 4, right here on News Talk STL. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, we're supposed to be surprised to learn about another aspect of Joe Biden's failing health. Now, hear me out here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
This discussion isn't really about Joe Biden.
Right.
I mean, it is, but it isn't, although the media and the system want it to be. And I think right now there's a lot of people in the media and in the system that do not want us asking a lot of questions on this. Okay, let's get to that in just a second. But throughout the morning, we are trying to connect you with the resources either to get help or to allow you to be a resource.
Yeah, I know a lot of people out there have pets as well that they are probably freaking out over not being able to bring them with them if they have to vacate the house or just, if they got lost. So if your pet became lost during the storms, there are places that you can contact that will help you recover them. So first thing you want to do is if you know your pet has a microchip, contact the microchip company and notify them that your pet is lost. Make sure that the contact information is up to date. And then locally to us, actually, at least our radio station right now, is the Humane Society of Missouri Best Buddy Pet Center, 11660 Administration Drive. That's right over there on the corner of Page and Shows.
Real close to us.
Maryland Heights, Missouri. And their phone number is 314-951-1588.
By the way, Punky and Rosie are okay.
Yes.
They're fine.
They're chilling in the house.
They still hate each other, but they're fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. Okay, let me just say this first, and I mean this sincerely. I hope Joe Biden gets excellent medical care.
Yes, absolutely.
I hope he's able to beat the prostate cancer with which he's been diagnosed. Okay, let's get to the real story here. Okay, the real story, the statement comes out Sunday. Oh my goodness, this past Friday, President Biden was just now diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer that is, they didn't necessarily say end stage, but advanced.
They said it had metastasized into his bones.
Into his bones, yeah. Which means it's been there for a while. Now, I'm not I'm going to be really careful not to be one of the sudden cancer experts on social media. There's a lot of internet oncologists right now who don't have any clue what they're talking about. So I say that up front because you know what? He's not the president anymore. He's not really relevant to what's happening from this point forward here. But let's be really, really candid. There's no possible way that this was just discovered Friday.
It's not.
I mean,
it's not possible.
No way. There's no way.
No, there are indicators of when you have prostate cancer. It usually comes out in some of the really basic tests that you go through when you have regular doctor's visits. You know, we knew about my dad's prostate cancer ages before it actually it advanced to like any sort of stage where it was threatening his life,
right?
Kind of thing. Look, it's silly to think that they just found it.
No, there's no way that they just found it.
It's ridiculous. And then you add on to the fact that we're talking about the president of the United States. If there was anybody in America who's had access to the greatest levels of healthcare available to America, it should be him. If it wasn't, I don't even understand that. But certainly he should have been he should have had available to him the types of the diagnostic processes available to anybody, right? So it's silly to think.
Did.
Yeah. And
yeah.
So then the clear understanding that we have to come away with is they knew. And they knew a long time ago.
Right. And so when you look at we knew about the cognitive decline, and now the media who has a book to sell is suddenly admitting it, and they're trying to pretend now that they're on the side of truth, but they weren't before.
Right.
But now with the physical side of this as well. Listen, when people get older,
stuff happens.
Become more frail.
Yeah.
Did you see Bruce Springsteen faceplant at his concert?
No. Oh my gosh. What happened?
I mean, he's in his 70s.
Yeah.
And he was trying to do the old guy rocker thing, and he missed a step, and he just face planted.
Geez, yeah.
Which, normally I'm like, don't make a big deal out of it. But he had just got finished doing a big political speech.
Oh, okay.
Trashing the country and everything, and Trump in particular.
So it just feels like karma.
So I was kind of like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. He wasn't hurt, so I'm okay with it. So the reality is that most of the time, I mean, all the years I've been in media, when you hear the president did their annual checkup and they got a clean bill of health, they're so healthy. I stopped believing that a long time ago.
Yeah.
We tend to elect really old people who have health problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean
that's what we do.
It's kind of built into the sauce, isn't it?
I mean, we got a president who's going to be in his 80s by the time the term's over.
Right.
I mean, there are some. Donald Trump has health problems. I don't know what they are, but with that age, you have them. That's just
naturally so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in my early 50s, and I'm looking down the barrel of it. At some point, it's inevitable. You know, you're going to have stuff. That's the way it is. But with Biden, it's not even so much to me that he had them. It's the matter of the people who were right there and saw whatever the severity of it was, didn't just sound the alarm. They actively covered it up. So why does that matter? Because I understand the embarrassment side of it. You don't want, to tell the world about your prostate. I get that.
Sure.
But now the question comes in, who's actually been making the decisions?
Right. Look, if I were to kind of try and put together a sort of faux timeline on this, I can't help but think that prior to the election, they knew. So
you mean the 2020 election? The 2024 election.
The 2024 election.
2024
so
election,
he basically when people were saying, hey, hey, Biden, are you going to run again? Are you going to run again? Are you going to run again? In that period, they knew that he had cancer as well as cognitive decline. So they could have started with, no, due to health reasons, I'm going to retire and I'm going to pass it to it. They could have done it then, but he was such a good puppet. He was, it was so, I think, comfortable for them to simply run the country with him as a basically a feckless face of this party, that they didn't want to let him go. So they, along with, of course, Biden's ego, I imagine, had something to do with. I bet Jill's ego had something to do with it.
There you go.
And they wanted to stay in that White House and reap whatever benefits came from his seat of power and the access that comes with it. I'm going to leave it there. So that whole system was built up around this frail man whose health was failing him, and they didn't care that basically he could easily have just died in office over the course of the next 4 years.
Now, I don't want to get too tinfoil hat with it, but do you think the long-term strategy was to get him reelected, knowing or hoping he would pass away in office, so that way they can install Kamala Harris?
Yes.
Yeah, or have him resign, or whatever the case is. That was actually floated during the campaign.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that was floated during his first term as well. So it's like, this guy's clearly frail. He's clearly in decline. So what's the assurance? I mean, usually the vice president is your assurance. If something happens with the president, you've got this person, here to back it up. That's one of the things why they run as a ticket. And there were people talking then about saying, if he gets elected, there's no way he completes that term.
Right.
So the thought was, they get elected, he gets elected, and then he resigns or has a health whatever, and then Kamala Harris becomes the president.
Yes,
And
first
then
black woman president.
And then she's running as the incumbent,
right?
Which is a much better place to be in.
Yeah, and of course, all the way, whoever the bureaucratic state is that was actually running the country gets to continue, because there's no way they're going to start handing over decision making capabilities to Kamala Harris.
Right.
So look, yes, maybe it's tinfoil hat, shadow government. I'm gonna say it. There was a shadow government that was running the country during Biden's administration.
Oh yeah,
I have. It's very difficult for me to fathom the idea that this man, with the level of his failing health that we all know, we all saw,
we all watched it,
and we all watched it happen, was actually making the decisions that ran the country, especially when he'd call a lid at 10 a.m.
Right. And here's the other part of this is now the left really wants the attention on Joe Biden, the person. Well, I kind of feel sorry for the guy now.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I stand against basically everything he stood for. I mean, I'm always going to leave wiggle room that he might have gotten some things right.
Sure.
But so I'm not sympathetic to his administration. I'm not sympathetic to what he's done to the country, what he's done to all of us. But he's an 80-something-year-old guy who's got aggressive cancer. I hope he gets good care.
Yeah.
That's just being a human being on this. But the left wants this to be about Joe Biden. Why? Because he is really sympathetic right now. He's a sympathetic figure right now. That's when I say, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. We know that you know that you knew. You know that we know that you knew.
Yes.
We know that you knew that we knew that you knew. So at this point, there are other massive questions that they don't want to answer right now, especially as we head into the next election cycle for the off-year elections. They don't want that to be the headlines.
See, the weird thing too is before this got revealed to us, before they actually started acknowledging and admitting, like, yes, we did lie to you and gaslight you about the former president, that there were rumors coming out that were being reported on by national news outlets that they were considering, the DNC was considering potentially running Biden for a second term again. And like you gentlemen were saying, there's no way they did not know until recently that this was a thing, meaning that people in there knew all this stuff, knows that this is essentially elder abuse, for lack of a better term. And then they were still saying, well, we still have him physically alive and we can work with that. Let's try to run him again just in case. Like that, how evil do you have to be to think that that's a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, we basically had a warmed up version of Weekend with Bernie's.
Yeah.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
Weekend of Biden's. Yeah.
Weekend of Biden's. Seriously.
And so that's, yes, is that on Joe Biden? Sure. I mean, he had to, know how bad a shape he was in, but that says more about the system. That says more about the corruption.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It really, when you really think about it, think about what has to go through your mind to be this man's wife and to say, yeah, I know he's dying and his mind is going, and yeah, it would probably be better for him to just, for me to just take care of him in his old age, in his last few, however long he's got left on this planet, and just enjoy your grandkids, go out to one of your, many beach houses and just kind of relax for your rest of life. But I like the White House. I like living here. I like people calling me, Madam President or Madam First Lady or whatever they call her. I like the pomp and circumstance, and I don't care if somebody else is running the country. I like to get to occasionally sit in on cabinet meetings and run it.
She was running them.
She was running the cabinet meeting. So it's just evil stuff. It's evil
really
stuff when you really come down to it.
Yeah. All right. We're going to bring you updated what's happening around the region and around the country as well. But keep in mind, throughout the morning, we are going to be providing you with resources to look up if you want to help or if you need help. And if you know some, we've only got so many here. Send me a note. Give me a call. Let's get all of them out there, as many as we can.
Jumpsuit, cover me. Jumpsuit, cover me. I crumble underneath the weight.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The strong protecting the weak and the good defeating evil.
On News Talk STL.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stiefel. Request a portfolio review from your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, this is Aaron Dorr. Check out my show, Shall Not Be Infringed, Sunday nights at 9. But now it's more of Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, so the question now is, where does St. Louis go from here after that deadly tornado hits? Because we're not in the recovery phase yet. We're still in the cleanup phase, and we have possibly more storms coming today as well. Also, the Battlehawks punched their ticket to the postseason, and you can be there the entire way. It is 6:48. Gabe's here. Jerome's here. I'm Mike. Let's go ahead and dump some news on you.
The morning news dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The morning news dump.
All right. The EF3 tornado that hit St. Louis County and the city killed 5 people, and we know of 38 others who were hurt. Don't be surprised if that number goes up. That's very possible. Throughout the morning, we're going to be letting you know both where you can go to get help if you need it, and where to go if you want to help those are in need. Guys, jump ball, you got one that you want to mention to somebody here at this point?
Yeah, just because I know right now a lot of people are freaking out about pets, and I noticed that this is on one of the list of people, groups that are volunteering to help out. Stray Rescue of St. Louis, who I've actually helped with and worked with voluntarily, located 2320 Pine Street, St. Louis, Missouri. They do great work. They're very passionate about helping people, and they do have groups that will donate goods and such, so that way you can shelter your pets while you're finding out how to basically reclaim your life after this. So their number is 314-771-6121. Highly recommend working with them.
All right. So Mayor Kara Spencer was talking to reporters, talking about the extent of the damage, which they're still calculating.
This is going to be a long recovery because the destruction is truly phenomenal.
And at this point, we're looking at an estimate of $1.6 billion of damage created by the tornado. That is likely to go up. That number is going to go up. Don't get caught up in the numbers.
Right.
Okay. Even the human numbers, as far as the number of people who were killed and hurt and the amount of damage. Okay. Don't get caught up in numbers. Those do help frame things. But the reality is that think about the person whose home is without power and the tree has crashed down into the living room.
Right.
That's what, for instance, not just my wife, but other people in North City doing the work face to face are seeing, with an elderly mother or grandmother who's in there and, did her medicines, get smashed when the tree fell through.
Oh, yeah.
They
Wow.
don't have the money for a hotel.
Mhm.
They don't have air conditioning right now. Though that's what you've got to be thinking of. And it doesn't matter if those people voted the same way you did or not.
Right. Yeah. When your entire life is now exposed to the elements.
Yeah.
You're not just your life, but your history. Imagine all your photo albums and your keepsakes and, your kid's blanket that you brought them home from the hospital in or something.
Right.
All this stuff is now exposed to the elements and more storms are coming.
And that's the cruelty of this particular one hitting North City so hard because it is the poorest area of the region.
Least resources.
Again, the tornado hit my street
right
in Richmond Heights. It hit Clayton.
Mm-hmm.
We're fine.
Right.
My neighbors have some damage. It's going to cost them, I'm sure, a few $1,000s in copays and deductibles and all that sort of thing. But you know what? We're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. North City, they may or may not recover.
Right.
On
Not
this
at all.
Yeah, precisely. All right. Scary situation in Fairview Heights, Illinois, as 2 of their police officers are recovering after being shot over the weekend.
Gosh.
It happened late Saturday night after a suspicious person call. So basically what happened is police got the call that somebody was lurking and prowling.
Mm-hmm.
They determined it looked like a domestic situation is what this looks like. The person opened fire, actually hit 3 officers. 1 officer was shot in the face. That officer is in critical condition. Another was shot in the arm and is recovering, does have a broken arm. Another officer was hit in the back, but his protective vest stopped the bullet. So the shooter has been arrested. There is no description of the shooter at all. Nothing. No male, female, no age, no nothing. I mean, so the Illinois State Police has taken over the investigation.
That's weird.
But multiple news reports, and you can't even find out a man or a woman, which is
that's crazy.
Different. It's different.
Good.
Now, to my knowledge, usually when it's a minor that's involved in something is when they really hold on to the facts because, as a minor, you have media protection of some sort. So, but it is weird that they wouldn't even mention whether or not it was a minor.
Right. Yeah, they wouldn't say that or anything. So that's
now this person is still at large. They have been
no. This person's been arrested.
They have been custody.
Yep,
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
That has been arrested and the gun has been recovered. So, all right. As we were just discussing, former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Biden's office says he was diagnosed with prostate cancer on Friday, with the cancer cells having spread to the bone. A statement said, while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The 82-year-old Biden and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Yeah, they just found out, just diagnosed on Friday.
Just on Friday, yeah. It was like they had no idea until Friday.
All right. President Trump back in Washington after his trip to the Middle East, where he visited multiple countries, including Qatar. Of course, the royal family of Qatar is offering him a luxury Boeing jet as a gift. Senator Rand Paul was on ABC's This Week reacting to the president's willingness to accept it.
I don't think it's worth the headache. And I think it's detracting from a largely successful trip to the Middle East, which includes a lot of good things as far as expanding trade.
All right. The president says the jet would be used as a temporary Air Force One until the end of his term, when it will then be given to his presidential library. We are going to ask Congressman Bob Onder what his thoughts are on that around 7:35. And I texted Bob and told him, I'm going to ask you about this on this because, question comes down to, is it a gift to the president? And if so, is the emoluments clause. And by the way, it doesn't mean he can't accept it. It means that he needs to get Congress's okay if it's considered to be something that falls under the emoluments clause of the Constitution. All right. As expected, Missouri state lawmakers are headed back to work next month. We talked to Governor Kehoe about this last week, and he told us he was going to do this. But he's called a special session to consider a plan to at least partially fund a new stadium for the Kansas City Royals and to fund a majority of the cost of upgrading Arrowhead Stadium for the Kansas City Chiefs. Another $500 million in construction spending in other parts of the state will also be considered. The state of Kansas is offering to pay 70% of the cost of building new stadiums for the teams. So that $500 million in construction spending, they don't even have specific things for it. Let me tell you how this works.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, we need the votes from Springfield. Hey, what do they need in Springfield? Let's pay for something. They need the votes in St. Louis, where the lawmakers like, this doesn't affect us. Why you want our people to pay for this? Okay, how about $100 million of some construction spending? What do you want? This is all horse trading. This is all basically bribes.
Yeah. It always hits me when it's like, yeah, no specific or detailed plans for anything, but here's a whole bunch of money.
Let's debate over
Oh
it.
my gosh, I hate that stuff.
Yeah. All right. We're going to talk to Bill Eigel about that here in about 10 minutes as well. All right. The Battlehawks are in the postseason and they've got home field advantage, like all the way. The UFL's conference championship game is going to happen at the Dome June 8th. Now, with this past Saturday's win, the Battlehawks secured their spot in that game. They will be playing the DC Defenders for the XFL Conference Championship. The UFL has already picked the Dome to host the league championship game on June 14th. So therefore, the Battlehawks earned a spot in the postseason. Whether they play just one game or both games, they will have home dome advantage throughout the entire postseason.
As they should.
As they should.
Yes.
As
absolutely.
the league really wants that to happen.
Yes.
You know why? Because a tornado hit on Friday and 30,000 people showed up on Saturday.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. All right. So in baseball here, like the great philosopher Meatloaf once said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
The great philosopher.
That's right.
Yes.
The Cardinals lost their series finales to the Royals on Sunday, but they won the first 2 games. So the Cardinals won the series.
Yeah.
But they didn't sweep. The final score was 2-1 on Sunday. Cardinals are back at Busch Stadium tonight to start a series with the Tigers. That is a 6:45 first pitch. Sonny Gray is going to be on the mound to start this. We're in May, and Sonny Gray is trying for his 5th win of the season. And it's still May.
It's so crazy.
This is a great season he's off to the start on here. Redbirds are in second place in the division. They are just 2 games behind the Cubs. The Cardinals actually were in first place for a day. And then, of course, they had the 1 loss, and the Cubs won a couple games as well over the weekend. But looks like we're shaping up to a good old-fashioned Cardinals versus Cubs race for the division.
Let's go.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day 1. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Every day, something new. No one else is really talking about this.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too.
Trump's doing the right thing.
You know, there's so many issues.
It's over.
I think you're politically wrong.
Very upset.
I will have to agree with you.
You're one of the sweetest guys in the world. For a guy who's so bad on politics.
101.9 and 94.1.
Your platform is like really, really important to us.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Anxious to end the war in Ukraine, President Trump today will speak with two key players in the conflict.
The president's high-stakes phone call with Russia's Vladimir Putin is scheduled for 10 a.m. Eastern Time, after which he'll speak with Ukrainian President Zelensky. On Sunday, Zelensky met with top U.S. and European officials, telling them that Ukraine is committed to a full and unconditional ceasefire. In recent days, Donald Trump has expressed his frustration with the ongoing war and lack of a ceasefire. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Mr. Trump among world leaders wishing former President Biden a speedy and full recovery following Mr. Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis, said to be an aggressive but treatable form of that disease. It is far from finalized, but President Trump's big, beautiful bill has advanced in the House, voting 17-6. The House Budget Committee last night cleared the way for the GOP budget bill to move ahead. 4 Republican skeptics had voted present, allowing that measure to proceed. Well, there will soon be light at the end of the tunnel, and that's good news for commuters who rely on New Jersey Transit.
I am delighted to report that NJ Transit and the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, BLET, have reached a tentative agreement. And as a result, New Jersey's first rail strike in decades has officially come to an end.
New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy on WABC TV announcing NJ Transit rail service is set to resume 12:01 tomorrow morning. More severe storms expected to roll across the central U.S. this week, following the weather-related deaths of more than 24 people. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures are down 234 points. NASDAQ futures off 309. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard joining MediShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 844-41-BIBLE. That's 844-41-BIBLE. 844-41-BIBLE.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A lot of dry time on tap today from the midday into the afternoon after some spotty morning rain moves out, up to 78 under partly sunny skies. But then another round of strong to severe storms rolls in this evening into the overnight. 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. looks like the time to watch. 67 for the Tuesday morning low. A lower chance of some storms Tuesday from late morning into the early afternoon. 81 for the high tomorrow. Thankfully, Wednesday through Friday look dry and beautiful. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Attention golf enthusiasts, Berry Hill, your favorite 9-hole public golf course, is now open for the 2025 season. Tee off from 8 a.m. to sunset, with early 7 a.m. weekend hours starting in May. Test your skills on our diverse holes, join leagues, or take lessons from our pros. Planning a tournament? Check our website for the 2025 schedule and junior programs. And after your round, relax in our comfortable lounge. Call 314-731-7979 or visit bridgetonmo.com to book your tee time today.
To our brave police officers and first responders, we say thank you for risking your lives to protect us. To all the incredible volunteers who've joined hands with the David Dorn Foundation to raise funds for equipment and services, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. We stand strong with our volunteers who give their time, talent, and dedication as a shield of support for those who rush into danger. The David Dorn Foundation gives a big thank you from our heart to yours. Visit dornfoundation.com and join as a volunteer.
Mike Ferguson,
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Phifer,
I triple dog dare ya!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get Up St. Louis,
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin God.
All right, lawmakers going back to work in Missouri. Is this a matter of economic development or corporate welfare? Let's talk about that here in just a moment, because guess what? They're talking about what's happening in Kansas City, but they're talking about having us be on the hook for the money that's going to be fronted to these sports teams that are owned by billionaires. So,
yeah.
But I'm saying this objectively. I don't want to, give my opinion on it or anything.
Yeah. We want to give money to billionaires so we can watch their millionaire employees play a game.
Right. Yeah. All right. We'll get to that here in just a minute. Okay. Obviously, we're going to go coverage with what's happened with the tornado on Friday. We are just at the very, very beginning stages. This is going to fizzle out of the news cycle within a few days. Okay. Because that's how the media works. That's how the news cycle works. But as it's fizzling out, that's when the recovery is actually going to begin. But in the meantime, at least through this morning, we're going to be bringing you resources. If you need resources or you want to help become a resource and you want to help, Gabe, what do you got?
Well, we mentioned Love the Lou earlier this morning, so I'm gonna throw out a couple other organizations that are involved right now. We've got the Salvation Army, as of course, they're responding to impact the neighborhoods in St. Louis with water, snacks, and emotional and spiritual care. So you can visit SALarmy.us. / mid disaster to donate to their efforts. You got United Way is asking people who want to donate to visit their helpingpeople.org / storm relief website. And then those wanting to volunteer to go to stlvolunteer.org. And then the Urban League is collecting donations to help with immediate and long-term aid and supplies. Supply donations can be dropped off directly at their offices at 1408 North Kings Highway.
Yeah, go to places like that instead of into the neighborhoods that are damaged and say, you need some shoes?
Right.
Don't do that.
No,
go to the places where people are coordinating it.
Absolutely.
That's the way to do it. All right, now joined by Bill Eigel, former state senator and obviously running for county executive in St. Charles County as well here. Bill, appreciate you indulging us there on that. You know what, from the governmental perspective, obviously, this tornado spared St. Charles County, thank goodness. But from a regional perspective, what should be the focus on cleanup and recovery at this point? Because you've been in office when there have been disasters around the state.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, guys, thanks so much for helping get the information out for resources that people can turn to get help. And you're right. I don't think there was a tornado on the ground in St. Charles County, but before it crossed over into St. Louis County, it went through right where I live at in Weldon Springs. There was 2-inch hail and there was a lot of damage, even from that before it got into the county. So this really is a regional crisis, and it's kind of an all hands on deck moment where we need, folks to come together and help one another out. And I'm so proud. That's really what you've seen over the weekend. That's really what you've seen, people come together. And so I continue not just to pray for the folks that are in St. Louis County that have been affected, St. Louis City and St. Louis County that have been affected by this, but continue to do whatever we can to help those folks that are going to need our help, as you said, long after it fizzles out from the headlines and the media, because there's a lot of people out there hurting and we need to help them out.
Morning, Bill. Gabe here. Just switching gears a little bit. Wanted to get your reaction to the results of the last legislative session. People like Tim Jones are giving it kind of high marks because we've got a lot of big red things, as I like to call them, done. What's your take?
Yeah, I think I coined that term, big red things, the past couple of years when I was running for governor. And I got to tell you, the number one thing that it was definitely identified as being the top priority going into the session was getting something back to the ballot to repeal some or all of Amendment 3 that made Missouri the most pro-choice state in the union. And we got that done. We got it done on the very last day of session, but we ultimately got it done. And that was, that final 2 yards that we couldn't seem to overcome in previous years. And so I want to give a lot of credit to State Senator Adam Schnelting, my successor, that was the sponsor of that bill. He put everything into getting that bill passed, HJR 73, and it did pass. And a credit goes to Senate leadership that made a commitment to Adam Schnelting at the very beginning of the year in the Missouri Freedom Caucus, and they made good on that. You know, that was what was missing in previous years. We couldn't get our leadership on board to do those things that, heaven forbid, may require us to aggravate some of the Democrats in the Senate, in the Missouri Senate chamber. So, yeah, I think that there's a couple things to be good there. We got the crime bill done. We've got a few things. That being said, there's some things I think that I'm pretty concerned about, and especially on the economic front. If you look at the state budget, what a disaster the state budget is right now. We're going to spend more than $2 billion more in general revenue than what we expect to take in. So we're not even passing a balanced budget. And we have the budget, the state government is now bigger once again than it ever has been before. I don't recall hearing that promise back in campaign season, and yet that's exactly where we are. You know, we were promised that we were going to see an end to the income tax. You know, we got a different tax cut, and I'm a fan of all tax cuts, but you know, there was no movement on either income taxes or property taxes, which continue to soar out of control in the state of Missouri, which is going to do a lot to keep us non-competitive with the other states like Florida and Texas. And then, as you guys mentioned at the top of the segment here, now the conversation for our governor is turning to whether or not we should give a bunch of money to billionaire sports team owners over in Kansas City. What a disaster that would be. And I got to tell you, I think that if that comes to pass, and the next move that our folks in Jefferson City take is to give a bunch of our tax dollars to these billionaires, I think that's going to put a really bad shadow over some of the good things that we were able to accomplish in the legislative session.
Okay, so Bill, take me through what happens there. You've been in special sessions before. At this point, we've also pointed out that we've got, basically the proposal to cover, a large part of the cost of a new stadium for the Royals, and then hundreds of millions of dollars in upgrades for the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. And there's a little bit of oddity with the Arrowhead Stadium because technically that is publicly owned, but another $500 million to be divvied up in construction money from around the state. I'm going to be the bastard who just says, this sounds like bribery and horse trading. Basically, you're coming back to work. Here's the pot. Let's negotiate how much you get in exchange for supporting this. Am I too skeptical on this, or is that essentially what happens? Tell me how those conversations go. Put me in that room.
So first of all, no, you're not. It's not even possible to be too skeptical about the idea of giving billions of our dollars to sports team owners. I mean, don't these guys have enough money? Aren't they fleecing us right now for like $10 beers and $15 hot dogs? I mean, do they not have enough cash somehow? This is crazy. And I think, what was really troubling is last week in the final day of session, literally the final day of session, the governor unveils a plan on Wednesday morning, hoping to get almost $1 billion of subsidies passed within 6 hours of the legislature hearing about it the first time and passing it back to his desk. I mean, that is outrageous. And the reason he did that is the governor knows just how unpopular it is with the public, that we ought to be giving this powerful special interest. And that's what that is. It's a powerful special interest because they're able to afford a bunch of lobbyists that go into those rooms with legislators and throw all kinds of charts and spreadsheets in front of them that try to demonstrate how this is somehow a good idea for the state. But here's what will really happen. What will really happen is whatever they give these sports teams, they're going to fund those sport teams and finance it for over the debt for this over 30 years. Well, guess what? These stadiums don't even last for 30 years, which means that 15 to 20 years from now, those same sports teams are going to come back for another $500 or $600 million before we've even paid off the first loan. And so my perspective on this is we shouldn't be treating any business in this state different from one another simply because one is bigger. That's the only difference between the Royals and the Chiefs and the local small businesses here in the St. Louis region. And the 430,000 people here in St. Charles, just like the people in every other county in the state, should not have to pay one red cent to the pockets and bank accounts of these billionaire owners because they've done such a good job putting support into the campaign accounts of guys like our governor and other individuals in Jefferson City that are inclined to give them some cash. And also, let's be clear, the Royals and the Chiefs are not talking about leaving Kansas City. They're not talking about leaving. They would never leave that population, that fan base that has been so good to them over the past 20 years. They're talking about moving their stadium 20 miles one direction or 10 miles the other direction. And they're trying to convince our state governments, Kansas and Missouri both, to give them a bunch of money because of it. We're never going to lose the Chiefs. We're never going to lose the Royals. You may have to go 10 minutes in one direction or 10 minutes in the other direction, but we're no in danger of losing those teams. But we are in danger of losing our fiscal sanity by giving these billionaires money that they don't deserve and that our Constitution actually prohibits us from doing, because nobody should get a benefit that other folks don't get.
Okay.
I'm going to be opposed to this, and I'm going to continue to be public about it.
Okay, so Bill, last minute or so, we've got the argument, and the governor made it on this show the other day, is, you know what, Kansas is offering to pay up to 70% of a new stadium. We have to keep them on this side because the tax revenue and the residual effects, the jobs, etc. You've heard it all before. What's the answer to the we can't afford to lose that center of economic activity argument?
First of all, if you have a governor that's telling you that he's worried that we don't have enough tax revenue, I'd be worried about the fact that he can't submit a budget that's $2 billion out of balance. You know, maybe if he's worried about tax revenue, he ought to start submitting a balanced budget that doesn't spend so much of our cash in the first place. That's not what a governor should be worried about. That's the first thing. The second thing, he's talking about the jobs. What is this not the same metropolitan area? If they locate a stadium 10 miles to the west, are you saying that the Royals and Chiefs are going to fire every one of the individuals and say, no, we can no longer employ you because you're on the other side of the state line? That's just outrageous. It doesn't even make an iota of sense. So the focus of our chief executive should not be being worried about the bank accounts of Jefferson City. It ought to be worried about being a good steward of our tax dollars down in Jefferson City. We have more than doubled the size of the state government. And the idea that we couldn't find time to get rid of the income tax or do anything about these out of control personal property taxes or regular property taxes, but instead we're talking about enriching the wealthiest 1% of the 1% because they're powerful and they are able to hire all these lobbyists, is just outrageous. This is exactly what I warned about a year ago if we went down this road. And I'm very concerned that if he goes down this road, if he continues on this path, then it's going to cast a long shadow over some of the good things that did happen this session. And that's a real shame.
All right. Bill Eigel, former state senator, obviously now running for county executive of St. Charles County. Bill, appreciate you being on, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great morning.
Thanks, Bill.
All right. Got some thoughts on it? Let me know. Shoot us a note on social media or in the chat box. Just ahead here, what did you experience? What did you see on Friday? We're going to go around the room and compare our notes here. And then also let's talk about what we need to do and what we need to not do in the wake of this tornado. And by the way, we could have some more bad weather coming through today. Even if that's not as severe as Friday, it could cause another round of major damage. I'll tell you why.
Making cold mind to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to you.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
People talk about federal money as if it falls from heaven. You know, we thank heaven for it, but it came out of people's pockets.
On NewsTalk STL.
Can't you hear the alarm?
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Did Donald Trump and Republicans make everything great again over the weekend? We'll discuss with Senator Jim Talent at 4:25. At 5:25, Red State Headlines with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on NewsTalk STL.
Hey, want to amaze your friends when they visit? They'll be impressed when they see your custom-made draperies, blinds, or shutters. Michael Proctor will personally help you select the correct colors to truly showcase your home. Then he will actually design, personally install everything. No overhead markup. That's going to save you money on draperies, blinds, or shutters.
Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Hey, Tony Colombo here, inviting you to the Bluff City Outdoors Show Fishing Pentathlon, a one-of-a-kind multi-species fishing tournament Sunday, June 8th at Carlisle Lake. There'll be several side pods, but to win, your team has to catch all 5 species of fish with the highest total weight. This unique tournament gives fishermen of all levels a chance to walk away a winner. Get more info and reserve your spot now by going to BluffCityOutdoors.com and searching tournament entry, or just go to the events tab on the Bluff City Outdoors Facebook page. The Fishing Pentathlon, brought to you by Great Harvest Bread Company in Maplewood.
As we pause to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom this Memorial Day, let us remember their courage and dedication.
Words cannot measure the depth of their devotion, the purity of their love, or the totality of their courage.
A reminder from local businesses who support our veterans. Williams Brothers Meat Market, Berry Hill Golf Course, D. Gregorio's Food Products, and from News Talk STL.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colonies.
Sweet, I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, oh, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888 to learn more about our special $67 offer.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
This is 1019 and 94.1.
You millennial Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Well, people have thoughts on the money for the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, what's happening here is that likely the state would be underwriting the bonds for this, so they wouldn't be cashing a check for it. But what happened is the state is still losing money because the taxes that would be paid by the teams normally, sales taxes, payroll tax, all that sorts of stuff, that would be diverted into paying back the bonds on that. So that's how they get around saying, well, yeah, it's $800 million, but it's not really $800 million. It's but whatever the bond payments are, eventually they're like, okay, but the teams are paying those back, but they're doing it in lieu of the
actual
revenue
taxes
that would be going into the states. So.
Yeah. So basically it's a discounted loan that we're giving to them.
Yeah. Well, and we're guaranteeing.
And we're guaranteeing
Right,
it. Exactly.
Precisely. Okay, so we are nowhere close to the recovery part of dealing with Friday's tornado. I want people to understand that we're not in the recovery part yet. We are in the cleanup part here so far. So where do we go from here? That's what we'll get to in just a second. In the meantime, let's get you connected with some of the resources in the area, whether you are looking to get some help if you need it, and don't be afraid to ask if you need it, or if you want to be a help to somebody else.
So right now, I'm sure a lot of people are dealing with a lot of mental stress about like my life and everything I had, and all my loved ones are affected by this. So the Annie Malone Crisis Center offers on-the-spot connection to counseling and recovery guidance. They are located at 5355 Page Boulevard in St. Louis, Missouri. Give them a shout out or recommend them somebody if you know, if you care about somebody that's affected and you just don't know how to be there for them properly. These people can get you professionals to help take care of that burden for you.
All right. It is 7:23 right now. We know that at least 5 people have been killed by the tornado that went through on Friday. One of them was a lady who was inside of her church working, and the roof collapsed. At least 38 people have been hurt. My guess is there's probably more that we just don't know about yet. But those are numbers. We're talking about people,
right?
Like for instance, the woman, she was there in her church, working there, helping, serving others. Apparently Mrs. Pendleton, I believe her name was somebody who had a long history of just working to serve others, according to all the people that were quoted in the news articles. And she was just in the path of the tornado.
Yeah,
there was nothing that basically could have been done. That roof collapsed. She had nowhere to go. So we've seen the pictures, we've seen the videos on social media, we've seen them on the news, but those do not tell the full story.
Right.
Okay. They just don't. And by the way, more storms could be here today. They could be moving through today. The risk it's a less of a risk category as far as severe storms. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be as strong of a storm to cause more damage, because right now you've got God knows how many houses, businesses, churches, schools, you name it, that don't have a roof, they don't have a first floor, that any sort of downpour is going to create a huge amount of water damage as well. And not to mention that a lot of these buildings are now structurally unsound.
Right. So yeah, a little extra push, even from lower speed winds than before, could knock over a wall that's been made unstable by the first pass. So yeah, we're looking at some potential more damage coming through.
Right, because I mean, if we just had blue skies and the storm had moved on, they would be okay. How do we solidify that structure?
Right,
and preserve it, rebuild it. As we mentioned,
or take it down controlled,
or take it down in a controlled way, precisely, because there are also, understand that likely most of the hotel rooms are now full.
Yes.
But matter of fact, my wife knows a couple of the ladies that she works with at the Love the Lou organization, and their home has a tree in the living room.
Yeah.
And they're still in it now. Now they're getting them into a hotel, but they couldn't find a hotel. They found a hotel room in Columbia, Illinois.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is, in the NewsTalk STL listing area, but it's a ways out there. But you're also looking at a part of town where it is the poorest part of town. Again, this tornado did hit Clayton. It did hit Richmond Heights. It hit my street. I will tell you, it did. It hit the street where my house is. We're fine. I mean, yeah, there's damage, but you know what? We have resources. We'll be okay. My neighbors will be okay. My house, probably because we put those concrete, shingles on and spent the extra money for it. Everything stayed put.
Pretty solid.
Very, very, very minor damage. We had some neighbors with major damage on our street and trees and all that sort of thing. But it's Richmond Heights. It's Clayton. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about us.
People are just out of deductible.
Right.
It's fine.
And
they've got it in their pocket.
Right. And there's another landscaping project. And so the reality is that, a lot of these private contractors, whether it is renovation or landscaping or trees or whatever, where are you going to go? You're going to go to Clayton. You're going to go to Richmond Heights. You're going to go there first.
Oh yeah. That's the easy money.
North City is going to be on the last of the list. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these buildings, a lot of these people don't have insurance on these things.
Right.
Because we were talking about this during one of our information segments, how if it's a generational house,
right,
basically, because these are
normal.
These are old construction build. You stay in the house because it's paid off. Somebody great grandma paid it off in like 1947,
right,
or something like that. So you stay in the house because it's paid off. Now, a house without a mortgage doesn't need insurance,
right?
And if you're in an impoverished situation, if you're not taking in a lot of money, that insurance payment would be a luxury. So you don't bother getting it.
Yeah.
And now you're in this situation where the building's collapsed. All your belongings are strewn across the street.
Yeah.
And you've got no insurance to kind of to help you through.
So here's the thing: is there's going to be a lot of people say, "Well, that's your fault. You should plan." And
sure,
I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Well, you know what? Then the welfare state, you voted for. Okay, I don't give a crap who they voted for.
Right.
I don't care what campaign signs were in their front yard. St. Louisans have been devastated by this.
There are people in need right now.
Yes. And for instance, I was being told the story about this particular home. You've got somebody who works to try to stabilize the neighborhood to get away from all of this. And I don't remember if it's their mother or grandmother, 70 some years old, lives there with her, in order to help take care of her. Well, she has health conditions. Air conditioning is not a luxury. It's a requirement. They don't have any power.
Right.
Power is out at my house too. And it's probably going to be for quite a while.
Oh yeah. You got maybe a week.
Yeah, probably. So what? We're check on the cats to make sure they're okay. But
you can figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
You have resources.
That means we have to buy another round of groceries.
Right.
Okay. But this can be life or death for people in North City, North County, this area right here, which is why we need to help in the right way, which is why you look at the people who are there and who are doing the work and you ask them, what do you need from me? Please don't go do disaster tourism.
Oh gosh, yeah.
People wanted to go to the zoo. They wanted to go through Forest Park, and they found after a little bit that I don't know if they're still closed off, but they were for a little while. Because you don't want a bunch of traffic, because you want to gawk and look, oh my gosh, look how big that tree is. And I want to take a picture. Okay, don't do that.
No, please don't.
Please don't.
Your social media posts are not worth you logging up the whole passageway for people who are actually going to help in these areas. You just step aside. Look, if you're going with an organization,
that's different.
If you're that's a whole different story. If you're going to get pictures for the gram, go home.
Yeah, and go online and make a donation.
Yes, exactly.
Do that.
Rethink your life choice.
So, bottom line is, this is the time for us to be people.
Mm-hmm.
Put this ahead. We can debate all the economic conditions and what leads people in this at some point, but right now, a tornado had a direct hit on some of our neighbors, and they need our help, and that's really all we need to know right now.
Coming up on Larry Connor's commentary, for all the crocodile tears for illegals, leftists are more concerned about who's going to wash dishes.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A lot of dry time on tap today from the midday into the afternoon after some spotty morning rain moves out, up to 78 under partly sunny skies. But then another round of strong to severe storms rolls in this evening into the overnight. 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. looks like the time to watch. 67 for the Tuesday morning low. A lower chance of some storms Tuesday from late morning into the early afternoon. 81 for the high tomorrow. Thankfully, Wednesday through Friday look dry and beautiful. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Hey, News Talk STL listeners. This is Levi, CEO of Reach Reproductive Health. There was a huge gap left when the biggest pregnancy center in St. Louis had to close their doors right after Amendment 3. But by God's grace and power, Reach has been able to step into that space. We have acquired Thrive centers and are continuing operations in greater St. Louis. I have a request for you. Would you pray and consider getting to know Reach more? We are here to see babies saved and families transformed by the power of Christ. Get to know us on our Reach community website, outreachforlife.org. That's outreachforlife.org.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit vincentsjewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
For many of us, we get to work and sometimes we feel like we're hit by a freight train. You walk in the door and everyone and everything is demanding your time. So you feel behind even before you start. The other day, as I pulled up to the station, my mind's already racing about things we need to do to give you the best program we could create. Informative, timely, educational. But as I reached for the door handle, I saw a flash of red. It was a robin jumping from spot to spot, only to stop, cock its head, as if listening, then jumping to another spot. A side note here. Even though robins appear to be listening, they cock their heads to adjust their vision of an area. Anyway, this robin continues to hop, and from time to time would stop and peck at a piece of ground. Maybe it would peck more than once at a piece of ground, and then hop to another spot and another. If he got a worm or even a small bug, I don't know. But I do know, rather than rushing into the station, I just sat there, watching God's creature. I need to take more time for such things.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
I want to tell you more about Wellington Environmental's dustless blasting services. Wellington can blast paint, grease, graffiti, even stripes off parking lots. Truly amazing and powerful. But can Wellington blast something more sensitive? Yes, Wellington can use dry ice to blast soot and odors off smoke-damaged surfaces right after a fire. Currently, Wellington uses dry ice to clean mold off wood inside a home. Why? Well, dry ice immediately disappears, turns into a vapor. That means no mess to clean up, no damaged surfaces. You need to check with Wellington, always researching and practicing with new, better, faster, safer equipment and products for you. And it's very easy to schedule an estimator for your next project. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930. 644-4930. Be well with Wellington.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Springtime in St. Louis means one thing. That's right. Golf is back, baby. Sugar Creek Golf Course is located in High Ridge, just 10 minutes from 270 and Gravois. To book your tee time or to learn more about the special event and banquet facilities, simply visit sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
For 3 generations, one family has ruled the road in quality asphalt paving. Ruby's King of the Road Hot Mix Asphalt Paving. Family owned and operated. We're your leading authority for driveways, lanes, and parking areas. No project is too small or too large. We cater to both residential and commercial needs with unbeatable quality at just $38 per square yard plus labor. Call 636-295-9949. 636-295-9949. Ruby's King of the Road Hot Mix Asphalt Paving. You save when we pave.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Hi, this is Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow with a reminder to check out our new show, Jeffco Patriot Radio, this and every Sunday at high noon. Now, back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
All right, the performance of federal disaster relief's been, shall we say, shaky over the last couple of years. So what should St. Louis ask for and hope for from them? By the way, interesting point made on Rumble just now by PMS 3105. Says, as a first responder, please let the experts perform the cleanup on structurally unstable and severely damaged buildings, no matter how bad you, as average Joe citizen, want to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the
Totally
way,
right.
And there's plenty you can do.
Yeah.
There are shingles on the streets and in the yards. You can bag those up if you're working with a group. Or moving the bricks that are already blown off. And there are things you can do that are not putting you in that danger situation, where there's no power lines or anything like that. But the best thing to do is go through one of these clearinghouses.
Yes.
Where they are coordinating. Don't just show up and do it on your own. Work with somebody who's part of the overall plan to do that. But there are other ways you can be involved, whether you need help or you want to be help to somebody. Gabe, what do we have?
Let's see. Among the ways to help, you can contact the Missouri State Emergency Management Agency by dialing 211 or 800-427-4626. And also the SEMA 211 website also has ways to donate to those affected.
There you go. All right. It is 7:37 right now. We're joined by Congressman Bob Onder. And Bob, appreciate you being on. It's going to be an unusual one today, given the storms. And, I don't mean to start off this way, but let's be honest, FEMA's performance hasn't been that great over the last several big disasters. This is not as big on a scale as, say, the hurricanes in Florida or some of the wildfires or the flooding in the Carolinas, but this is really bad in St. Louis. What can we expect the federal government to be able to do as far as their process? What's the right role for them, and what do we know about where that is right now?
Well, yes. Good morning. Yes, really a horrible tragedy, and I mean the devastation to property, the loss of life is just tragic. Well, I was in communication with the governor's team over the weekend, and once again we are going to be pressing the White House and Secretary Monome and FEMA Administrator Richardson to get FEMA aid as fast as possible and to declare a federal state of emergency. I think it definitely merits that.
Morning, Gabe Phifer here. We've got the spending bill, right? The big, beautiful bill that I think it just made it through committee.
Yeah, but it was a hiccup. There were some hiccups and roadblocks.
There were some hiccups and roadblocks. Yeah. There was some a bit of consternation that it didn't go far enough in spending cuts and things like that. So what do you make of the situation? And if it runs into any further roadblocks, what do you think the path forward is?
Yeah, so last night, the 4 members of the House Budget Committee voted present. Those were the same 4 who voted no on Friday on the bill. And there were many others on the committee who were dissatisfied with the product at that point as well. And the conflict seems to be between those who want to fully repeal the Green New scam and eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in our Medicare and Medicaid. I'm sorry, Medicaid and food stamp programs, and those who really don't. And it's really sad. Some of the so-called moderates or blue state Republicans, they ran against the Biden green energy agenda and against waste, fraud, and abuse in government, just like the rest of us did. But let progressive groups run an added coup in their district, and they're headed for the hills. So really, and it's not so much that whether it goes far enough. The problem is when you put off Medicaid work requirements until after the Trump administration leaves office, and you put off the phase out of the Green New Deal scams until after Trump leaves office, chances are those never go away. So I'm hopeful. I'm not on the budget committee. I wasn't part of those negotiations last night, but I am hopeful we're going to move in a more fiscally conservative direction, because with a $36 trillion debt, $2 trillion a year in debt spending, every year we tax Americans $5 trillion and spend $7 trillion. And then with Moody's downgrading the U.S.'s credit, the time to act on spending is now. And we all want to renew the Trump tax cuts, but it is time to rein in spending as well.
And does this bill I'm reading actually ask for an increase in the debt ceiling and the debt limit? I mean, if we've already got that massive crushing debt, why would we add more debt?
Yeah, it also increases the debt limit. Realistically, it's going to be almost impossible to continue to run the government without raising the debt limit. But yeah, part of me, like you, says, hey, let's just not raise the debt limit and let's start living within our means. But I'll tell you, the cuts, the idea of the terrible draconian cuts the Democrats keep talking about, $2 trillion. Not in 1 year, but over 10 years, $2 trillion still allows for a very substantial increase in the debt over the next decade. So I agree, we are not doing nearly enough.
We're visiting with Congressman Bob Onder. Okay, I got to ask about this. The president just gets back from his Mideast trip, and a lot of trade deals were announced. A lot of purchasing was announced. So there were a lot of successes there. But Qatar says, we're going to give you a $400 million luxury jet. The president says, I'm not an idiot. I'm going to take the $400 million gift. However, the Constitution's pretty explicit on gifts, what it calls emoluments as well, especially from other heads of state like a royal family. I mean, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Rand Paul. I mean, there's a number of people who are very, very conservative who are saying, hey, this is a problem. Qatar still is accused of being involved with and financing and outputting terrorism around the country. What's your take on this jet and this gift? I mean, at the very least, is this something that through the emoluments clause that Congress should be consulted on or approve or deny, or is the president okay to just take it?
Yeah, I share the constitutional concerns. I also have concerns about the United States taking a gift of that size from the world's second largest state sponsor of terror. Qatar is the number 2 after Iran. And 3, it would be very, very concerned about the national security implications of taking such a, quote, gift. That darn thing's going to be loaded with bugs, and we're going to have to rely on our debuggers to find all the bugs. I remember in the 80s, we were building a new embassy in Moscow in the Soviet Union, and there were so many bugs, so many listening devices implanted into everything from I-beams to plaster to concrete. There were so many listening devices that eventually we gave up the project and start. I forget whether we started all over or ended up just sticking with our old embassy. But yeah, I have a lot of problems with taking the plane from Qatar.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because this shouldn't be a Republican, Democrat, MAGA, whatever thing. This is if it weren't explicitly listed in the Constitution. And the thing is that it can be accepted with the vote of Congress. I mean, so it's not even it's just a matter of there's a better way to do this. We're visiting with Congressman Bob Onder. Okay, so I
would have problems if this were coming from Canada or Great Britain, but Qatar, please.
I really appreciate you saying that, Congressman. I mean, I seriously do. All right, last minute or so, we've got Law Enforcement Week coming up, and one of the folks on your team said, "Hey, this is something you've been involved in, really proud with. What's going on with that? And is there a resolution that you're working on in Congress? Because we got other issues going on, but still, right now of all times, this is a time to highlight the men and women in blue."
Yeah, that's right. Last week was Law Enforcement Week, and we finished up the week by passing three bills and a sense of Congress resolution praising the brave men and women of law enforcement. I led the floor debate. It wasn't much of a debate because it was pretty bipartisan, encouraging local governments to honor their Gold Shield families, just like Gold Star families or families who have lost loved ones in the line of duty serving in our armed forces. Gold Shield families are those families who have lost a loved one serving for law enforcement. But we passed some bills allowing federal law enforcement officers to buy their firearms as they retire from service. And to allow law enforcement officers to carry concealed in places that are traditionally, quote, gun-free zones, which we know are some of the most dangerous places you can be. So, we really are trying to back the blue here in Congress, especially us Republicans in Congress.
All right, Congressman Bob Onder, really appreciate you being on once again, and thank you, because I mean we've known each other a long time, and I told the congressman, I said, "Hey, congratulations, you got elected." The questions get harder after this.
Yeah,
and your answer was, "Bring them on," and I really appreciate that.
Bring them on. Bring them on. Keep me accountable.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Bob. We'll talk to you soon. All right. 314-912-1019. Boy, I tell you, Gabe, if there's any time where we need to hear something good, it's today.
Yes, please.
We're going to get back to all the tough stuff and the important stuff. But you know what? At 7:50 coming up here, Mr. Phifer, would you tell me something good?
I got you.
All right.
Take this, everything I know, realize that I'm nothing I wanted to be. I can never change anything I've done because it's the only.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com. Brian and his team, they're just amazing people. They're so proud of their operation. Pride in every installation. You can see that in the Google reviews. Pride in the great quality, pride in the great pricing, pride in the great variety, and pride in the fact that you can go into the store right off of Highway K in O'Fallon, or the store will come to you. That's the promise of O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Human trafficking is occurring right here in Missouri. You can help combat it by learning the signs of human trafficking and reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement. Victims may appear malnourished, show signs of mental or physical abuse, or avoid social interaction. If you're a victim or know someone who needs help, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text the word HELP to Be Free. Together, we can fight human trafficking in Missouri.
Brought to you by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
NewsTalkSTL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airwaves for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on NewsTalkSTL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Hey, folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, we need to hear something good here. Gabe's got that for us in just a minute. Regardless of whether you need help or you want to be a help to somebody, there are resources throughout the St. Louis region that are organized or are organizing for relief and to help people get through these crucial days right after the tornado. Jerome, what you got there?
So if you need help or you know somebody that needs help finding a shelter or somewhere to stay during the cleanup efforts after this horrific tragedy happened, the Red Cross Decatur office at 2674 North Main Street in Decatur, Illinois is accepting people. So if you're that close to the border and you were affected because of how massive this storm actually was, go ahead and give them a call or check them out. There's also a Red Cross opening an additional shelter in St. Louis on Monday at Refresh Community Church at 829 North Hanley.
All right, there you go. So it's 7:50 right now. A lot of bad news, a lot of tough news, but we still need to know there's good in the world here. So, Gabe, would you tell me something good?
Tell me something good.
Now, I actually thought about this this story for Friday because it certainly counts as weird and wacky, but I wound up bringing it to you today. So stick with me on this first story about a Houston woman that celebrated her cat's 15th birthday with a full-blown quinceanera. Okay,
with a full-blown what?
Quinceanera. Okay, so let me remind you here. A quinceanera is primarily sort of a Mexican celebration of a girl's transition into young womanhood. So it's a big deal. Sure. It's not quite Sweet 16. It's like Sweet 16 plus from the Mexican culture. This young Miranda Gonzalez afforded all the same trappings for her cat, Holly Marie Gonzalez, very, very, human name there. Yeah. Holly arrived to the party in a remote-controlled Bentley, wearing a kitty-sized ball gown and tiara. Wow. And there was a father-daughter dance and an elaborate cake and even a full mariachi band.
For a cat.
For a cat.
Wow.
Okay. So that's the weird and wacky part. But here's the good news part. The celebration also served as a fundraiser for a struggling animal rescue called Almost Home Cat Haven. Okay. So videos Gonzalez posted online ended up going viral, causing donations to skyrocket the rescue from being on the verge of closing to full financial stability, right? See,
because you had me because I was about to go,
come on.
What is wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
See, I told you. It's either way.
Yep.
Tell me something good.
All right. Now, you might remember back in January, there was a tragedy of a medical jet that fell out of the sky, basically, and it crashed into the middle of the road in Philadelphia. But you might have missed the story about a young hero in the midst of the tragedy. So when the jet hit the ground, 10-year-old Andre Howard used his body to shield his sister from the shrapnel. Wow. 2 large pieces of debris struck him in the head, according to his mother, and the boy spent more than a month at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia undergoing surgeries and tests. Since then, Andre has gone from near total paralysis to relearning how to walk to now working on his fine motor skills in physical therapy. So King's making a comeback.
So he's may recover.
Yeah, he may be. He's on the road to full recovery, which is amazing. So when asked about his harrowing last few months, Andre said, quote, "You got to work hard and always protect people."
Wow.
Tell me something good.
Absolute king energy right there.
Maybe there are bright spots in our future.
Yeah, exactly. So every once in a while, I get reminded that, maybe the next generation has a few bright spots in it. All right. Now, for our last story, I love a good medical breakthrough. So this one is looking to help people with type 1 diabetes through the use of so-called smart insulin. Type 1 diabetes, also known as juvenile diabetes, is a chronic condition where the pancreas makes little to no insulin, which is required to regulate blood sugar. Typically, those with type 1 diabetes must constantly monitor their glucose levels and administer insulin shots multiple times per day. Yep. Glucose responsive insulin, or GRIs, which requires only 1 injection per week, lies dormant in the body until it's needed. This breakthrough ought to have a big impact on the 38 million Americans with some form of diabetes.
Okay, so is this something you mentioned type 1 diabetes? Is this something that could be extended to type 2 diabetes?
Quite possibly.
Point?
Yeah,
Right,
they could work it out so it works both ways.
Yeah. My dad was a type 2 diabetic, but it wasn't a genetic condition. It was he ate way too much bad food.
Yeah, it was
he brought it on himself.
The bad food diabetes is type 2.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hopefully it can help with both. But
type 1 diabetes,
yeah,
I mean, it's that you have a shortened lifespan.
Yes,
if that's not treated.
Yeah,
right.
my cousin died of it. She was my age basically. So yeah, absolutely. Now last story here, or actually the last segment here, to help you plan to have a good week.
Yes,
lots of celebrations. Tuesday is National. Well, this is different. Tuesday is National Streaming Day. So, be sure to take all the great shows on this station with you everywhere you go by streaming us on the NewsTalkSTL app. Yeah. Apparently streaming day is a new thing now.
Good thing we're reminding people to go stream stuff because they wouldn't have done it otherwise. Thank you for declaring a day, whoever declares these things.
All right. And Wednesday is National Strawberries and Cream Day.
Oh, I do like that.
That's tasty.
Yeah.
Thursday is National Vanilla Pudding Day. So I don't know. Maybe
you know what? It may be a kid like, but I do love vanilla pudding.
Maybe you can add some leftover strawberries to it. I don't know. Friday is National Taffy Day.
Okay.
So I'm a big fan of the saltwater variety.
Yeah.
And
okay. So the little ones in the
wrappers, yes,
or the big long rectangular ones that when you bite it, you've got to like fully extend
the
your arm like it's Stretch Armstrong.
No. I like the little ones.
Okay.
I want to keep it clean.
Jerome.
I'm with Gabe on this
Okay,
one,
yeah.
but those are fun. I just had too many near-death experiences with them, so I'm going to play it safe from now on.
Laffy Taffy was like my go-to in grade school. I remember those. Yeah.
There it is. Today is National Devil's Food Cake Day.
Oh, okay.
And that's see, I'm not a big chocolate guy. It can get a little rich for me, but Devil's Food Cake is one of my go-tos. So long as I got a big glass of milk with me.
There you go.
Now, of course, while you're having that great week, don't forget this coming Monday is Memorial Day. So when we remember our fallen service members by partaking in the fun and leisure with our families, that's only possible because of their sacrifices.
Absolutely. All right, 7:56 right now, and boy, there's a lot of those conversations I think we need to have regarding that with Memorial Day coming up as well. So appreciate that as well. All right, just ahead here, we've got obviously going to bring you update on what's happening with the news, but then also please everybody be checking in on social media with us. I want to make sure everybody's okay with the tornado. Here's the thing is that it is going to fade out of the news headlines at some point, even when there's the true scope of the needs are just going to be realized,
just like Joplin did.
So we've got to make sure we get this right off the bat.
And I know that on Saturday, people from the Dr. Tobler audience was telling us that they were affected in there. So if you know of any groups, please leave them in the stream, and I'll go ahead and pin them and share the information out.
Yeah, precisely. So we're going to share as many of those resources as possible. And do not be afraid to ask for some help if you need some help right now.
Absolutely. Now's the time. Like, don't be proud about it. Look, we all understand this is a natural disaster. It hits people, some people harder than others. We're here to help one another. That's part of the deal.
If you weren't affected or it wasn't that bad and you can help, listen, $5 or $10 to a local organization that's doing the work makes a big deal. Or get in touch with them and roll up your sleeves and throw some stuff in a trash bag. And there are groups that are already coordinating and they're on the ground and they're doing it. And if we get any storms today, it's going to
compound
reamp it's going to compound it. That's a better word because you're smarter than me. I was going to,
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too, until I called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head,
is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They're in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Sauer from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The Trump agenda gets a green light in the House Budget Committee.
After gaveling in after 10 p.m. on Sunday and meeting for just under 1 hour, the committee voted 17-16 to advance the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which would extend President Trump's tax cuts and boost his border funding priorities while reforming Medicaid and food assistance programs. Chairman Jody Arrington of Texas summarized.
Well, tonight, the House Budget Committee took a critical step to passing One Big Beautiful Bill Act and making President Trump's America First vision a reality for the American people.
Ranking member Brendan Boyle of Pennsylvania shared his objections to the vote.
CBO saying 13,700,000 Americans at least will lose their health care because of this bill for billionaires that was passed.
Bernie Bennett in Washington.
Joe Biden's office says the former president has been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
The diagnosis came late last week when the former president was seen by doctors after urinary symptoms and a prostate nodule was found. Biden's office described the cancer as aggressive and said it had spread to the bone. But the statement also said the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston says Mr. Biden and his family are now reviewing treatment options with his doctors. Israel is ordering evacuation of Gaza's second largest city as its offensive escalates. Israel is also resuming what Prime Minister Netanyahu describes as minimal aid to Gaza. The Prime Minister says Israel's allies voiced concern about images of hunger, saying, quote, "With that, we will not be able to support you." Russian authorities have outlawed Amnesty International as an undesirable organization. A 2015 law makes involvement with such organizations a criminal offense. On Wall Street, the Dow futures down 259 points. NASDAQ futures off 327. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, "The pain is gone." And she said, "I'm glad it helped." I said, "No, you don't understand. It's gone."
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A lot of dry time on tap today from the midday into the afternoon after some spotty morning rain moves out, up to 78 under partly sunny skies. But then another round of strong to severe storms rolls in this evening into the overnight. 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. looks like the time to watch. 67 for the Tuesday morning low. A lower chance of some storms Tuesday from late morning into the early afternoon. 81 for the high tomorrow. Thankfully, Wednesday through Friday look dry and beautiful. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stiefel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Now you can get the incredible weight loss results that thousands of people have had with the top name brand prescription weight loss products, all in the comfort of your own home. With this free offer from New Hope Weight Loss. Yes, generic versions of the popular weight loss prescription products are available now by you simply making a phone call. You'll save hundreds of dollars over traditional retail pricing. When you call right now, you'll speak with one of our virtual doctors and they'll provide your prescription and we'll send you your medication. It's that easy. And you'll be on your way to your weight loss journey in a matter of days. And when you order today, we'll waive the $100 doctor's fee. This product is not covered by your insurance. It's only $199 a month. Call right now to learn more.
800-438-6519. 800-438-6519. 800-438-6519. That's 800-438-6519.
Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy? Wow, you're really pumped about this.
Gabe Phifer. Ken Williams.
Drinking water out of the toilet.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
If you're going to be a smart ass, first you have to be smart. Otherwise, you're just an ass.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
All right, where does St. Louis go from here after the deadly tornado has come and it is gone? Also, all of this, I'm going to use air quotes here, guys, news that we're supposed to be surprised by about Joe Biden's health says more about the corrupt system around him than it does about him personally, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And the Bottle Hawks punched their ticket to postseason, and you can be there to watch it the entire way. And if St. Louis needs something good to cheer for right now, that's going to be one of the things that's available. All right, it is 8:06 right now. We got Gabe here. We got Jerome here. I'm Mike. Let's go ahead and dump some news on you here.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by Common Sense Rentals. The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
Okay, so that EF3 tornado that hit St. Louis County and hit the city killed 5 people and hurt at least 38 others. Throughout the morning, we're going to be letting you know both where you can go to get help if you need it and where to go if you want to help those who are in need. And, of course, we now know that this tornado was at least a mile wide, basically about a mile wide. It stayed on the ground for roughly 23 miles.
That's crazy.
And the damage, as Mayor Kara Spencer told reporters, says that the damage itself, the costs just keep going up.
We estimate right now over $1 billion of damage, property damage, that does not even begin to account for the personal human toll that this has taken in our community.
And since she had that news conference with reporters just hours later, the estimated cost has gone up to around $1.6 billion as well. And again, I expect the numbers to go up.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you right now, we're 2 days, 3 days away removed from this. The numbers don't matter right now. The people matter.
Yes.
And there are people who are in these old brick homes that are unstable, but they've got nowhere to go and they've got no power in them. And this is happening to a lot of people, particularly in North City. There are organizations on the ground that are trying to help them and are helping them right now. And thank goodness for them, because this is a really bad situation. And Gabe, we've got the potential of more storms coming through the area today.
That's right. And what's going to happen is all of these buildings that are exposed, all of the buildings that are structurally compromised, all of the trees that have been pushed over but not quite fallen over, they're going to have a tough time surviving this storm. The oncoming storm. Now, the oncoming storms aren't going to be as bad, but look, you just need a little more rain, a little more wind, and some of these things some of these situations are going to get worse. Some of these walls that are unstable are going to fall down. Some of these trees that have been half uprooted are gonna take out some more cars.
Right.
There's more coming.
Yeah.
And we need to be not just prepared, but ready to jump in to continue in the sort of humanitarian work that's going to be necessary.
And that's even before you get into the water damage.
Yeah, of course. Yes, the water damage
Yeah.
is going to be pretty severe as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of these buildings whose roofs have been removed, the contents are going to be a total loss again.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go into more depth on this right around 8:20 here. Okay. 2 Fairview Heights, Illinois police officers are recovering after being shot over the weekend. This happened late Saturday night after a suspicious person call. So the call came in, basically a prowler.
Right.
Somebody's looking into a building. Police now believe that it was a domestic situation, some kind of domestic conflict situation. The person opened fire, actually hitting 3 officers.
Jeez.
One was shot in the face. That officer is in critical condition. Another officer was shot in the arm. He is recovering, but the bullet did break his arm. Another officer was hit in the back, but his protective vest stopped the bullet. The shooter has been arrested. We have no description of this shooter whatsoever.
That's really weird.
Yeah. I mean, age, male, female, we have no idea anything about this person. I do find that different. That's unusual with this being a domestic situation. According to the police, this could be something that's just really weird. I mean, talk to just about any police officer. They will tell you the call that they typically dread the most is domestic.
Yes, absolutely. Because those things they're sticky. They're complicated. Sometimes there are unexpected details that nobody's expressing. And of course, basically, when you get the call, basically somebody has to go to jail.
Yeah,
according to the way the laws are written sometimes, and it's always terrible. Now, I am curious though. Aren't usually when arrests like these are made, don't we get pictures too? Don't we usually get a picture of the suspect when they're booked?
A lot of times, when charges are filed.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. The Illinois State Police has now taken over the case because when there's a shooting involving police, then another agency comes in to do the investigation, to try to ensure some kind of neutrality, as much as you can. All right. Former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Biden's office says he was diagnosed with prostate cancer on Friday, with the cancer cells having spread to the bone. A statement said, while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The 82-year-old Biden and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Greg Clugston, the White House.
The only thing I would believe of that is that he was diagnosed on a Friday.
Yeah.
It's like not this past Friday.
Does anybody believe, oh my goodness, we suddenly found out the president has advanced aggressive prostate cancer. We just found out on Friday. What?
Yeah, no.
I'm starting to think maybe there was something going on mentally with him during his presidency.
There's something occurring to me just today. I'm just realizing that there's a possibility that he has some sort of mental deficiency.
So
also,
right around maybe around 8:35 or so, I want to kind of open up the jump ball on that discussion. To me, this doesn't say as much about Joe Biden as it does about the corrupt people and system that surrounded him and probably surround other politicians even today, regardless of Republican or Democrat.
the closer you look at it, the more disgusting it gets.
Yeah, precisely. Because it's no matter, we've been saying for years, oh, no. And the media ran cover for him. And now they're admitting, oh, yeah, he's got all these health problems and wouldn't have been capable of being president. But we just now found out.
Yeah, just now. Trust us.
No, you knew.
Thank God for that auto pen being such a good diplomat, right?
Oh, geez.
See, that's where a lot of these questions now come up. It's like, who was making the decisions?
Yeah.
Let's get to that right around 8:35 or so. FBI Director Kash Patel says he is prioritizing human trafficking, especially child sex trafficking, with their enforcement. He joins Fox's Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo on Sunday to discuss.
You have to get out there in the field, not just let the FBI agents and intel folks get out there and do the work, but partner with state and local law enforcement, which is a priority, and tribal law enforcement. That's a big, big deal for us. We are not forgetting about Indian country. They suffer from the same violent crime
Okay, so this comes as just last week, the FBI arrested hundreds of accused online predators who were targeting children, according to the FBI. And this happened over the course of a 5-day operation.
You know, I remember during the first Trump administration, we were hearing about various, child abduction rings or pedophile rings or things like that getting broken up. It seemed to be quarterly. We'd get one like quarterly, and then it paused. I noticed that, and now we're back to it. Okay, well, good. We got the good guys in place, like, apparently now.
Here's what's awful is that there's no shortage of perps out there.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
this is beyond a massive problem that I think a lot of people don't understand the scope of how big this is.
And no community is immune.
No, none.
None. Didn't we just report on one of these guys in leadership at a school, local school district, right?
Yep.
So my goodness.
Yeah, literally here in St. Louis.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. President Trump back in Washington after his Middle East trip, where he visited multiple countries, including Qatar, where the royal family is offering him a luxury Boeing jet as a gift. Senator Rand Paul was on This Week on ABC responding to the president's willingness to take the jet as a gift.
I don't think it's worth the headache, and I think it's detracting from a largely successful trip to the Middle East, which includes a lot of good things as far as expanding trade.
So the president says the jet would be used as a temporary Air Force One until the end of his term, when it would be given then to his presidential library. We spoke with Congressman Bob Onder about that. He's not wild about this either. You can check out that podcast here in a couple of hours. All right, the Battlehawks are in the postseason, and they're going to have home field advantage as much as they can earn it. The UFL's conference championship game was supposed to happen in Washington, D.C., but now it's going to happen at the Dome on June 8th because the stadium where the Defenders play had a previously scheduled event. And so instead of moving the date of the game, they're just moving the game to St. Louis. With this past Saturday's win, the Battlehawks secured their spot in that conference championship game against the DC Defenders. The UFL, of course, has already picked the Dome to host the league championship game on June 14th. So the Battlehawks, they can keep winning. They have home dome advantage the entire postseason.
Come on, come out and join the calls of caw coming through the Battle Dome.
Yep. All right. Cardinals play the Tigers tonight. That is a 6:45 game. Sonny Gray on the mound to start this one. The Redbirds are in second place in the division. They are 2 games behind the Cubs.
Another RX Watch, brought to you by Onder Law.
There's an evil new twist in the tragic story of baby powder and its link to ovarian cancer. Recently uncovered documents reveal that talc can contain asbestos.
The same asbestos that we know causes mesothelioma.
Right, and ovarian cancer.
In the 1970s, the industry wrote its own rules, allowing Johnson & Johnson to claim that its talc was asbestos-free, as long as it contained less than 1% asbestos.
Of course, Johnson & Johnson helped write those rules. So while we're using hazmat suits to remove the asbestos from our homes, Johnson & Johnson was telling women it's safe for their bodies.
Unbelievable. So if you've used talcum powder for feminine hygiene and contracted ovarian cancer, call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
They've already won several large verdicts against Johnson & Johnson for women just like you.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH. That's 1-800-RX-WATCH or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connor's USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
Okay, I think a lot of times when a tornado happens, we tend to look at it the way that the news reports it, which is look at this event, team coverage, look at all of the destruction, look at the disaster porn.
Exactly. That's really what it happens a lot with news coverage of these things.
And we see this usually in other cities. Now it's here. And I think we've been conditioned to think that, okay, this is in the news. Oh my goodness, that's awful. Those poor people. And then a couple days later, there's another shiny object. And then we move on, even if it's in our backyard. We can't do that. I want to make sure people understand the scope of how this is affecting people's lives and people who are our neighbors.
Detached observation is not acceptable right now. You can't just be a passive observer of what's going on. Your fellow neighbors are in need.
Right. And it doesn't matter who they voted for.
Exactly.
Okay. But there are resources, both if you need some help right now, and there are probably more people, and there are hundreds, if not thousands of people who need help right now. But there are also thousands of people who are probably saying, okay, how do I help?
Right.
There are resources for both things available right now. Gabe, give us one or so.
Now, in the midst of this, you've also got business owners who are affected by these things, and there are resources. I know we got a lot of business owners who listen to the station. The St. Louis Development Corporation is helping St. Louis assess business conditions. So they're asking businesses that were damaged during Friday's storms and tornado to complete their business assessment form. Owners can contact 314-657-3708, and you can check out that assessment form on the St. Louis Development Corporation's website.
Yeah, there you go. Because the businesses getting back up and running is going to be crucial to these communities getting back up and running.
Yeah, and a lot of people, at least my age, when they hear business owner, they think of some fat cat with just expendable unlimited money. But no, like our entire local economy is built by people that are struggling right now, just as much as people without businesses are.
Yeah, 50% of the workforce work for small businesses. Small businesses are we're talking like 10, 15 employees and things like that. We're talking about people who basically use the business as a pass. It passes through their personal income taxes.
Yep.
It's not as though it's like some big corporation elsewhere with shareholders and they have board meetings. It's just mom and pops. That's what we're talking about. Those people are just as worthy of our response to this as anybody
guess
else.
what? A lot of the big businesses and giant corporations started off as.
Yeah, that's true.
Small businesses.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Amazon started off as a small business startup.
Literally out of somebody's garage.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, we had a customer come in that is he does landscaping work and he runs his own landscaping business, employing people. And right now, I mean, you would think business is good, but they're looking at this as like, we have the tools to help out. We want to help out. So if you see somebody out there helping out with their own equipment, just thank them, because this is not about profit right now. It's about getting this stuff out of the way so emergency rescue people can finish doing their job.
Yeah. So I drove in, about 3 whatever this morning, and there's a bunch of hotels around our radio station here, and a couple of the hotels, the parking lots are completely full of electric company vehicles, with the buckets and the lifts, and landscaping vehicles, like tree service videos with like the chippers and all that sort of stuff. So the cavalry is arriving in St. Louis, and many, like for instance, this one up here, just west of us over here, this hotel over here, the Sheridan, parking lot is full.
Yeah,
of nothing but electric company vehicles.
Yeah, they're a depot there.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. So that's where they're staging, and who knows how many workers are there from all over the Midwest, most likely. Convoy of Hope has been activated. They're headed up here. They're probably here already. They know how to specialize in this. But one of the unique things about St. Louis is there are thousands of nonprofit organizations, literally thousands. And many of them are hyper local. I mean, I happen to know about one because my wife's on the board of one with Love the Lou. And my wife was on with Randy Tobler over the weekend. She was with him on Saturday on his show talking about what's happening, because she's basically spent the entire weekend up in North City working with that group. And there's also Restore STL, and there's a bunch of other groups out there as well. And so these are the people who know what's needed. So there's what to do. Contact them directly. Whether it's your church and you have a group, maybe your Boy Scout troop, maybe your high school, whatever it is, or your nonprofit or your neighborhood association, whatever it is. And you're like, we can do something. What can we do? Ask them what they need.
Right.
That is the best thing to do. Even if you're like, hey, I want to do this, that's great. Maybe they need that, but maybe they need something else. What they really are needing at the moment is a lot of people to be able to come up with the big heavy duty trash bags, like the yard ones or the industrial ones, the construction ones, and throw shingles that have been blown, off into those, and stack the bricks that are still, knocked off the buildings, but are still usable, and, shovel the others. Other things like you mentioned earlier, if you're anywhere near a power line, stay away from it.
Just call it in.
It's probably turned up, but don't take the chance. SEMA is probably not going to be in for a couple of days. FEMA is probably not going to be in for a couple of weeks, is what we're being told. That's what I'm being told over the
easily
weekend.
weeks.
Yeah, if they show up at all, because we've seen the history of that. We can't rely on the feds for this. And then also, if you see stuff that's jagged, because remember, after the Joplin tornado, there were some people who actually ended up dying because they got cut or something and got infected.
Yeah.
With stuff from the nails and the glass and
and there are a lot of toxic and hazardous chemicals that have now been spread around. Like usually they're contained in something or they're contained by something. And you know what? Storms don't care.
Right.
They'll throw that stuff all over the place.
So here's where we're at. I mean, we talked earlier. I mean, my street in Richmond Heights was one of those that got hit by the tornado. We took a hit. My house is for the most part completely fine. I've had neighbors who did have damage in their homes. I mean, they're going to have to deal with the headache. Clayton took a direct hit. Clayton schools are closed today because of that, but there was a lot of damage there. But as I'm saying, and I know that this is, going to ruffle the feathers of the people who live around where I live. We're fine. We have resources. We'll get through it. We're fine. Don't worry about us. That's not to downplay the damage of some of the neighbors they had, but then you look at North City. Okay. And then you look at people who are in homes which are generally, even if they're not older, because like my home's almost 100 years old, it's literally 99 years old. But it's a different situation than a 100 or 110-year-old home in North City. And so they've lost roofs. There are one home, I was told, a tree literally in the living room, and they don't really have anywhere else to go. And a lot of us can't relate to that. I mean, if something happened, like the power is off on my street, it's not going to be on anytime soon. The house, it's hot in there. It's really not livable in there. So we're somewhere else. Okay. It's an inconvenience, but that's it. This is not something that a lot of people have that bandwidth to do, Gabe.
Yeah.
And so we need to get out of our bubble to say, it doesn't matter who they voted for. It doesn't matter what campaign signs were in their front yard. These are St. Louisans. And the best way to help them is to reach out to the people who are there and ask them, what do you need? What can I do? And then follow their lead.
Right. Remember how mad we were when we heard about that FEMA lady who was saying, oh, if you see a MAGA, flag or something like that, skip that house and don't help them.
Which did happen.
Don't do that. Don't be that person.
Right.
In the reverse. Don't say, well, this is North City. They always elect these Democrats. They made their bed. Let them. No. This is about a human issue.
Right.
This is a natural disaster that impacted people who are your neighbors. And I think you have an obligation. I think you have you have a human and social obligation to help those in need if you are able.
Now, that doesn't mean that you have to drive up there and do stuff, but
you don't got to give $1 million or anything like that.
You got $10.
You got $10
to throw to Love the Lou or to Restore STL or to whatever.
You can skip your fancy coffee for a day.
You can do that.
Yeah. And the United Way is actually, if you want to donate, you can visit helpingpeople.org/storm relief. And if you want to volunteer, you can go to stlvolunteer.org.
Yeah.
And that'll help make sure that your funds are going where you want them to, or that you are able to be utilized based on what they need and what you can provide for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's, in any of these disasters, there's what a lot of times first responders refer to as the second disaster. Which is people with great hearts.
Yeah.
And they show up and they're untrained and, they're like, I want to do something, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're kind of in the way. But if you go through the portal, like lovethelou.com has basically a portal, they can say, okay, you come on and we've got a plan. We need you to do this. They'll direct you right there. And it's a whole different thing.
So this kind of stuff used to happen a lot whenever, not tornadoes, but just storms in general, because our trees were so neglected and diseased by the city. So I would be one of the people trying to attach my Jeep to big enough stump that I could tow and try to get out of the way. But we did have a lot of times where people, not realizing there's a lot of debris out in the roads, they would show up and then their tires would pop. And now it's like you are now blocking the road you're trying to clear until hopefully a tow truck can get here. But how many people do you think have tow trucks that are going to come out this way?
Oh
when
my
there's so much
gosh.
going on. So coordinate, go and follow the people that are trained to do this. What they're saying to do is to go to these websites. And if you don't want to risk your tires being popped, just make a quick donation. Or if you know somebody out that way, drop off some water, get some garbage bags, something that doesn't require you to be in the way.
Right. Absolutely.
And follow the coordination there.
Yeah.
And here's the other frustrating thing. I mean, and I had mixed feelings on this when I first saw it, because right after the storm, curfews were imposed by the police.
And I saw that.
The libertarian in me doesn't like that. But looting started within an hour of the storm.
It was immediate. I saw videos.
Yeah. Looting.
Yeah.
I mean, and
keep it classy, St. Louis.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You see, but that's another part of the problem.
Yeah.
Is why so many people are like, well, screw that. I'm not going there to help them. Well, the people who need the help aren't the looters. They're the ones who got looted.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, that was so infuriating, when we saw that, but that's part of the reality. And that's not just North City, that's other areas too.
Well, yeah, I mean, isn't it kind of like a rule basically that whenever there's a disaster, you see both the best and worst of humanity.
Yep.
Right. You see the people who are trying to take advantage. You see the storm chasing fixer upper guys. Right. The people are just like, oh, I'm going to help you with your insurance. Just give me your personal identifying information.
Oh, that's a great point. We forgot to mention that so far. If you're in one of those areas, you're going to get a lot of people knocking on the door. Hey, I was working on your neighbors here. Let me give you a good deal on the. Listen, you go get the bids and the quotes with companies that
Yes.
There are a lot of really good roofing companies like Connor. We do business with them here. We know that they're solid. Look for Connor Roofing. I mean, you've got all of these landscape, you got all these others, but yeah, you're going to have people showing up. Hey, I'm here. Let me do this. I'll give you a good deal on it. And just put half down or whatever it is. And don't fall for that.
No.
Tell them to get lost.
And don't take unsolicited approaches from people who say they're with an organization that
Yeah.
Contact them directly. It's like, hey, I'm with Farmers Insurance and I'm here to help do an assessment. I just need this info. Fill out this form with your social security number and all these other. Like, no. Go directly to their website. Go directly to the phone call of their number that Don't deal with any of these people who say that they represent people.
Because
the scammers are out.
Yeah, the scammers are out there. But there are also a lot of very legitimate groups. Go through them.
Yes.
But the need is there. Do it. And that they've got it down to a system where you're not jumping through a bunch of hoops or bureaucracy. You can make one call or do one thing online. And then they will be able to say, great, thank you. Please be here. Here's what we need you to do. It could be passing out water bottles. It could be, putting shingles into it. They've got stuff that they can use your help. And if you're not able to do that, or that's not your thing, toss them $25, toss them $50, and then it'll help equip those who are on the ground.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A lot of dry time on tap today from the midday into the afternoon after some spotty morning rain moves out, up to 78 under partly sunny skies. But then another round of strong to severe storms rolls in this evening into the overnight. 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. looks like the time to watch. 67 for the Tuesday morning low. A lower chance of some storms Tuesday from late morning into the early afternoon. 81 for the high tomorrow. Thankfully, Wednesday through Friday look dry and beautiful. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
A former FBI director wants us to believe he wasn't calling for violence with his cute little seashell post. Please. I'm Tawny Laren. More next.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
President Trump fired FBI Director James Comey in his first term, and it's obvious Jim isn't over it. He posted a social media snapshot of seashells on a beach arranged to read 8647. Now, he claims he just stumbled upon the message and insists he wasn't calling for violence, but it's common knowledge that to 86-something or someone means to get rid of it. You know what? If Comey wasn't a former high-ranking law enforcement official with a lifetime in that business, perhaps we'd buy that he didn't know exactly what he was conveying, but his ignorance is a hard sell. President Trump has endured at least 2 serious assassination attempts. This isn't funny. It's not something to joke about. And it's even more egregious coming from someone like James Comey. You know, I hope the Secret Service saves a special place on a special watch list just for him. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor-fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
As we pause to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom this Memorial Day, let us remember their courage and dedication.
Words cannot measure the depth of their devotion, the purity of their love, or the totality of their courage.
A reminder from local businesses who support our veterans: Freddy's Market in Webster Groves, Blue Sky Apparel and Promotions, Ray Ray's Kettle Corn, and from News Talk STL.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for the Great Window World. You know, just over the last 20 years of Window World being in St. Louis, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 76,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing, with approved credit. Call them today at 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me vent here.
Live and local.
Way to be, guys. 1019 all the way.
This is News Talk STL.
I am home.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
All right. We get the news on Sunday that's supposed to be a surprise to all of us. I'm telling you right now, the media and the left, they actually want the attention on Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah.
They want. You may say, well, why would they want that? The last thing they wanted was the attention on him during the campaign. Why would they want it? Well, they want it on him because he's a sympathetic figure now. And, but the idea that we just found out he was just diagnosed with advanced aggressive cancer, we're supposed to believe that? I mean, that's insulting to the intelligence. I caution against being one of the social media online internet oncologists because suddenly everybody's an expert on it.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know enough to know that you don't suddenly discover something that advanced out of nowhere, especially when you've been the president of the United States for 4 years.
Oh yeah, they've got to have some of the top doctors and healthcare in the country, and that's what is so frustrating. And I think that this is what we saw in this last presidential election. Is people are getting sick and tired of being lied to and treated like children. If something's going on, you don't have to tell us every single detail about everything all the time, but to insult our intelligence and our critical thinking ability when we're noticing stuff and then to say, no, you guys are crazy. You guys are wrong.
Right.
Well, now what are they doing? They're trying to switch it as, oh, we didn't cover it up or nothing. Don't pay attention to that. But, oh, this poor guy.
Yeah. See, and that's why I don't even think this is about Joe Biden.
Mhm.
Listen, he's 80 some years old. He's not relevant to our politics or policy anymore. Should we continue investigations for the things that happened under his watch? Absolutely, we should, without a doubt. And if he's guilty of stuff, prosecute him. I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. But at the same time, he's an 80 some year old man. I hope he gets the care that he needs. I hope he's able to deal with the cancer. I don't think this is so much about Joe Biden as it is around about the corruption that surrounded him and the corrupt people who surrounded him. Not to say he's not corrupt, but I'm saying is he was also surrounded around people that we now know their entire narrative is falling apart. We now know they lied, which we have been pointing out for years. We're here going, guys, it's right. It was kind of like that scene in that, what was it? The Naked Gun, I guess it was, Leslie Nielsen standing in front of the fireworks factory that's exploding going, go home. There's nothing to see here. Go. So we were there going, we're looking right at this man in cognitive decline and physical decline. And they kept saying, oh, no, it's not. That's just right-wing stuff. Right. I mean, it was like right in front of us.
Mhm.
And so now they say, well, he's been diagnosed with cancer. We just got that diagnosis on Friday. No, you didn't.
No.
You've known that for a long time. And that's not about Joe Biden. That's about the people lying to us.
And this is what I find personally so frustrating about all this, because again, I've been saying this for years now. The Biden administration, first of all, that's elder abuse, what they were doing to this man.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't think even when he was running in 2020 that he should have even been considered, because he should be able to, even though I don't like his politics, enjoy his retirement and fade
Mhm.
into obscurity. But the fact that whenever
the sooner leftists fade into security, fade into obscurity, the better.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of people that I talk to on the left, it's like we're saying, look, we were right. Are you going to finally acknowledge that we're not just a
Mhm.
bunch of crazy mega cultists, but we actually are critically aware of what's going on? And you guys keep falling for the bait and switch gaslighting.
Right.
I don't want to talk about Biden. We're in Trump now. So no matter what happens, they will find a way to excuse being directly lied to, manipulated, and gaslit if it means that they can justify somehow their Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, did you see the series of the talking head shows on Sunday? Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, some of the others, and even the leftist media is now calling them out. Are you saying that you didn't know? Are you saying, I mean, because they have to ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
The answer has been to what you were just saying. It's, well, we're looking forward now. We're looking forward now. We're not looking back anymore. He's not the president. And that's what they're doing. And at one point there was an awkward standoff with Chuck Schumer, because the anchor is saying, she goes, that's it. Basically, that's the answer you're going to give me. And he goes, that's it. I mean, so the Democrats will basically say, we're drawing the line. We will not engage with the question, because the answer is, I mean, you don't have the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply in media. You either say, I'm not answering, and take for that what you will, or you're not. And there are times to not engage stupid questions, but this is the rare time that they're asking critical questions.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it's, in a way, it's good strategy if you are a corrupt corporate media conglomerate to just only focus on one side of things. But I think the residual issue goes back to the fact that it makes it harder for us on our side to hold ourselves accountable, because every time we say, hey, look, this thing is maybe not what we want, but it's coming out of our side, we should pay attention to it. The immediate response is, well, see, haha, you guys are dupes. You guys, it's like, well, but because they don't take responsibility for their side. So it's always giving them a win, but never. And that's why I think we are so divided in politics right now.
Let's talk about the bigger picture as to why it matters. You say, okay, well, they knew that he was slipping. What's the big deal? Who was in charge?
Yep.
Who was in charge when Russia invaded Ukraine and the United States had to come up with a policy, regardless of what you think the policy should or should not be? Who was in charge? Who was in charge when we know that India and Pakistan are starting to aim their nukes at each other again? Who was in charge to say who's going to get in the way? Who was in charge when Hamas attacks Israel and the music festival kills many and takes a bunch of... Who was in charge to do that? Because it looks like it wasn't Joe Biden.
Who was operating that auto pen that signed 10,000 different documents? Because there was a interview that came out after Trump had won from a former Biden administration representative. I can't remember his name right now, but he point blank said Joe Biden was getting mad about some of the things that were happening and said, who authorized this? And I said, you did, sir. We gave you the document. And then when I came back for it, it has your signature on it. It's like, oh, I never signed any of that. I don't believe for a moment that he was the one steering the ship. I don't believe Biden was the one that was captaining the ship. And that is a terrifying thing to think about, because is it one other person? Is it a whole network of people? I mean, there's no transparency anymore. And that's the whole foundation of our country is transparency.
And that's the key part here. It's not just we want to avoid the embarrassment of admitting that we lied. You know, the Elizabeth Warren in that one leftist podcast where they're like, really? You're saying you didn't know? You said he was as sharp as it? Really? You know, and it's on one service, you may say, oh, you're doing your gotcha moment on the right to those on the left. Well, maybe that's part of it. But the bigger question is, who was in charge?
And it's not just about avoiding the embarrassment of being caught out in a lie. It's avoiding the consequences of lying to us. And I don't understand how we are as a nation of people that people are. If I found out anybody here was lying to me and deceiving me, I would be furious. I'd be like, well, why am I going to continue, supporting you when you're doing that to me? And we don't see that on the opposite end. We see excuse after excuse for why is it okay that the blue donkeys are lying and abusing your trust in them and misrepresenting and intentionally manufacturing mass hysteria and covering up, and then every time it comes out, you have an excuse. It's like you're a domestic violence victim that is constantly making excuses for this, but then we can't have a good faith conversation about what the solutions are because you are only so focused on defending the blue donkeys and always finding whatever little crumb of anything you can find on us to weaponize against us, and it's just not healthy for a country.
I mean, so we're looking at this point. It's like, well, what does it mean from here? Well, obviously, Joe Biden's not president anymore, so he is irrelevant to the current and future policy, but it also means, regarding that transparency you just said, Jerome, is that, okay, so how do we ensure that we always have that? Well, I don't think there's a way to do that. I don't think there is a way to do that. I mean, we've had cover-ups. I mean, FDR was in a wheelchair. People didn't know. Now, did that affect his ability to be the president? Well, not until he had that big, until he died.
He wasn't a bad president because he was in a wheelchair.
He was a bad president because he was a bad president. Yeah. But they hid that he was in a wheelchair. Honestly, that shouldn't have mattered, but at the time it would have mattered. You had, was it Wilson that had the stroke, I guess, and then his wife was the proxy president for a while. I mean, those are the situations you want to avoid. I mean, the fact of the matter is we have to ask the question, was Jill Biden the pseudo president of this country? And her extreme radical, nonsense was Hunter Biden influencing decisions. I mean, was cokehead, Russian prostitute dude, the one who was helping to call some of these decisions. If you could say, well, maybe Kamala Harris was making some, well, at least she was the vice president. She should have an influence on the president. You would expect JD Vance to have an influence on Donald Trump. It's one of the reasons you pick vice presidents, because you pick their counsel, whether we like the counsel or not. And so when you get in this, the question is fair to say, wait a minute, who made these decisions? Who did this? Was the president the one who made the presidential decision, or did somebody who was unelected and unaccountable make decisions that affected the lives of hundreds of millions of people?
Yes. And on top of that, why has it become acceptable on our part to just say, well, that's just the way politics is, when that's not how a free country operates.
Yeah, exactly. All right. 314-912-1019. So that's why the more I look into this, I mean, is it about Biden? Yeah, but it's also, I think, bigger than that. It's about that deep state corruption that's out there. All right, let's talk here. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stiefel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stiefel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. SteelNicolausCompany.com or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colony.
Sweet. I'll bring my 500 cousins. This will be the biggest ant rager of the summer. Let's party!
Wait, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 636-486-7888.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Colombo and Company.
House Republicans start the week trying to save the big, beautiful bill. We'll get you the latest on Monday, plus Virginia Cruda, Paul Kurtman, and AI expert Mike McClary.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on NewsTalk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on NewsTalk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 NewsTalk STL. Whoosh, my morning, people.
All right, cleanup efforts are continuing, and there's also going to be a lot of places where they need to tarp exposed ceilings and roofs and things like that. So if you've got the bandwidth to go help, contact one of those local agencies that are on the ground working with people. We've got another round of storms that could be coming through the area today. Even if it's not a big storm, even if it's not a tornadic one, all of that exposure to what's inside could cause some big water damage. And there's a race to get those things secured as much as they can. But if either you need help or you want to help, Jerome, let's throw another one out there.
So Friendly Temple Outreach Center, which 6356 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, St. Louis, Missouri, is helping people find shelter and help relocate them as we continue the cleanup efforts. And as my grandmother used to say, good intentions pave the path to hell, meaning that if you really want to get involved and do all that stuff, sometimes it can backfire. So make sure that you are reaching out and contacting these places before just showing up, because sometimes, if we get a little too ambitious or we want to go out of our way too much, we can inadvertently hinder the efforts. So make sure you're coordinated. If you can't give your time or effort, just share these resources that we've been calling out with people and help them find the places to go so we can help the professionals and the first responders do what they need to do.
Right. Yeah. And this is when you've got a vetted, credible nonprofits like there are around here that are on the ground. Throw them $25, throw them $50, throw them $100.
Yeah.
It's going to go a long, long way. But if you can volunteer, a lot of church groups are sending in groups to volunteer, but coordinate with the people who are there. It's absolutely crucial. All right. 8:50 right now. Who we got here?
We have Scott.
Scott. Hey, Scott, you're on NewsTalk STL. What do you think?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. It's as though, I wonder if Dr. Jill committed malpractice. It's even as if she's not an actual doctor.
Imagine that.
Well, this is gonna get very ugly because he treats. You've got the president's physician, you've got Walter Reed, right, with the veterans. Did those guys miss this? Of course they didn't. They knew about this. I'm sure they're going to find he has brain metastases and everything else.
Yeah, the thing is with some of these cancers, again, I want to be careful, Scott, not to become an internet oncologist, but I'm going from the experience of watching my grandfather who had prostate cancer, and that's eventually what took his life. Once it got into other parts of his body, it got to his brain within literally a couple of weeks, and it was amazing how fast it moved. So I'm going on that experience, watching it firsthand. I watched my grandfather die, literally. And that was the same diagnosis as what we're seeing with Joe Biden right now.
Right. And then you've got the, if the diagnosis is now, how many was this apparent a year ago?
Right. Yeah.
Was it apparent a year and a half ago? It's horrible. You wish the best for everyone, but this, I have craved that their cravenness and the craziness of the Democrats would be shown. And I'm telling you, it's been an answer to prayer because it is showing how craven these people are for power. They will do anything to try to stay in power. They're going to start leaking out more and more stuff, right? The Jake Tapper book, really? This is a surprise. Who are you kidding?
Yeah. Well, he should know what was covered up because he was part of the cover up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, good job, gentlemen.
Thanks,
Peace and
Scott.
stay well.
Have a good one there. Yeah, see, that's why I keep saying I don't think this is as much about Joe Biden. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's not. It's about the cover up around him.
Yeah, Joe Biden is the smoke to the fire,
right?
And thinking about this, because again, I've watched people also pass away from cancer. It's horrible to watch, but it does affect. It can, even if it's not the cancer itself, sometimes it's the treatments. And so there have been times throughout the years where people have made jokes like, "Oh, it looks like Biden's on some amphetamines. He's really amped up today." And usually he's not. Well, how do we know that's not residual from the treatments and stuff? Because it's just, these are probably more questions we're not going to have honest answers to anytime soon.
And like what Scott said, he goes, you're looking at Walter Reed, you're looking at the president's physician, and Gabe said something about something similar early on. They're saying we're all supposed to believe they just now discovered this on Friday. Of course, nobody actually believes that. Democratic friends, come on. You don't believe that either. None of us believe that. Does that mean that all the Republicans over the history of our country have always been forthcoming and telling all the truth? No, it doesn't. Some of them lied to us too. At some point, I think every president's lied to it. Yes, including, Donald Trump. Every president has lied at some point to us. So with this, though, it's the situation has to do with who was making the decisions. There's no question who's in charge right now. Donald Trump is in charge of the executive. There's no question. Can we honestly go back over the last 4 years and say we know for sure who was in charge and who was making executive decisions? The answer is no. We cannot make that determination. We don't know who made those decisions. We don't know when that declination of his health began and who was covering up when.
And if you don't like, and I'm talking to any potential liberals or Democrats out there, if you don't like the people that we keep electing to keep your side from ruining things further, you need to learn how to actually address things honestly. I mean, we had, I can't remember if she was a congresswoman or a senator, but there was a Republican lady who was found in a mental health facility because she had gone through the dementia and couldn't,
she was in like a hospice care, memory care type thing. Yeah.
And when we heard about that, our reaction at the station, at least, was, wow, we should not have people like that still in power. But when it comes to the left, when it comes to the Dems, does not matter. For some reason, they're just so tribalistically unable to ever speak ill against their own party, which communist tactics, that we cannot have a good, honest discussion about how to fix the country, how to heal the division, and how to go forward and restore our constitutional foundation if you cannot possibly give an inch when we are trying to give you several inches.
I was just watching one of the local TV screens. Even the media is being careful how they're reporting this because they've been burned. They actually, just because I was watching the closed captioning there to see whether or not they were going to repeat the White House lie that says he was just diagnosed. They didn't. The local news anchor said they just revealed that.
Good.
So they're being very, very careful with this because they know that they've been burned and they've been played.
Oh, yeah.
And at the national level, your Jake Tappers and what the others, they're trying to regain credibility by saying we're calling out this lack of transparency. Who knew what and when? Was like, well, Jake, you were there. You tell us you were there.
Yeah. It would be like, if I walked in here, I'm like, who's responsible for that Mike Ferguson in the morning show? I want to have a word with them. It's like, dude,
I looked around and went, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, no. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It almost feels futile asking, how did we get here? But how did we get here?
Yes, that is such a widespread. There's not one reason why. There's probably hundreds of reasons why, and all of them are bad.
Yes.
But we also have to accept some of the responsibility on us as well, because not only have we allowed politicians to do this, we've not held them accountable. We've not demanded better because we've been more interested in our tribes politically and culturally than we have on what is truly going to be a best small government freedom maximizing output. And you could say K through 12 is part of the problem and the indoctrination there, and it is part of the problem. The academy and colleges and universities, and they're part of the problem. The falling apart of the family structure, that's part of it. The falling apart of faith in America, the low trust. You can go through all of these things, but we all have parts of it that contributed to this sort of thing.
And now it feels to some degree we're actually encouraging it. As long as it owns our opposition, we support it. That's really harrowing to realize that that's where we're at.
Right, exactly. All right. Vic Porcelli coming your way here. Once again, Check out the various nonprofits, particularly the local ones that are on the ground working with people directly. Work with them. Don't just show up and go asking for something to do. Contact them, and they'll probably say, come on down right now. Here's what we need. But you'll help them get the work done efficiently to help those who are in need, especially as another storm system moves through the area.